Good evening, one and all. It is Wednesday, it's the middle of the week. It is time that we tune in to some more good old Warframe. Welcome on everyone, hope you are doing well where you are around the world. We have some interesting bits and pieces to look at today, oh yes indeed. But first things first, welcome everyone. The Valk test command should now actually be working. Yep, there it is, good. I don't know why, I put the details through, saved it, the bot was like, yep, I know what to do with that. And then it promptly forgot that the command ever existed. Thanks, Stream Elements. I like it when you do that. It's just sometimes when I hit save, it says it's saved and then doesn't. It's a Stream Elements thing. Pain. But in any case, I will be going into more details about that in about an hour or so's time. First up is Yareli. Yes, I know she was on stream recently as well. Well, that's because she has a fair amount to work through, and I've otherwise been a little bit preoccupied over the last few days. But I am putting together some bits and pieces for her. Today, I wish to focus on the second build slot, which is as yet currently completely unmodded. I have my first build slot set up, I have my third one set up, I have my fourth one set up. This one in particular needs a little bit of work in that it has nothing on it. But we'll be fixing that today. The idea is that this one, the later skater setup, is to throw away the skating using good old loyal Merlina. Yareli no longer rides Merlina, instead Merlina follows her and casts sea snares on nearby enemies with a cooldown, which we confirmed last time is definitely tied to efficiency. So yes indeed. Yes, indeed. You know the name Looted Scoot? It does fit well. It was either Looted Scoot or Cuter Looter, but I feel like Loot and Scoot just fits better. I feel like Loot and Scoot just does it better. You can probably figure out what the other two builds are based on the names they have as well. They're not exactly hidden names, but that's just how this works, isn't it? Now the idea with Loyal Merlina is that because it's riding along with Yareli and has that efficiency tied cooldown on it, we're going to want to hit that maximum efficiency. It just seems like the right thing to do. And then otherwise see what other benefits can be put onto her. Now it's not going to be using Aqua Blades and its augment because quite frankly, Aqua Blades just isn't that good unless you seriously build into it. You don't build into it with a Loyal Merlina and high efficiency setup. Although, just had a thought, I've not tested yet, if Surging Blades gets its free cast cost with Loyal Merlina. Because you're not riding on Merlina at that point, does that then discount the ability to get the free cast? I don't actually know, so I'm just going to test that. I'm sure the details on the wiki, but, well, the wikis also had details which were objectively incorrect. Including saying something weird about how affinity works on Merlina. That must be an old detail because it absolutely did not work the way the wiki said. So, the wiki is good for inspiration, but when it comes to testing the minutiae of these interactions, I'm just going to test it. I'm just going to test. A little bit of load lag into the relay. And some more load lag, okay. Nope, actually we're just lagging today, what the hell? That was weird. We all good now, game? All good? No more problems? Alright, there we go. So, I activate good old Aqua Blades, I activate Loyal Merlina, and now let's see, does this cost energy to cast? No! Okay. So that does have some potential to it at the very least. Higher. Although I'm still not overjoyed with the ability in general. But first of all, Alania, thank you very much for dropping your prime here once again. About 13 months of support on the channel. Much appreciated. And hello there. Welcome on in. Cheers. Cheers indeed. Yeah, lashing out would be a little bit more of a Gara Saren thing. You're very right there, Zom. Valkyr is a rip and tear until it's done more. But yes. Is Merlina just a cute fancy skate stingray thing? It's a whole lot of many things. it is a whole lot of many things, to be quite honest. Also, someone made a valid point. I didn't actually colour it previously. Not sure that's the colours I want to go with. No, actually, no, that does fit. Yeah, just copying it in actually does fit quite nicely. I'll go with that. Alright, there we are. Now I don't need to think about that any further. Hello, Iggy. You are indeed at the stream. Marina isn't flat on the bottom anymore? Yes. This is the Prime, which you can't just jump on. Turns out when it says you can't ride it, it means it. Absolutely disabled. But we can clip through it, so that's an option. That is an option. Alright then, let's pop out of here. That was just the one quick little check on it. It does indeed work with surgery blades, if you wish to do it that way, but still not all that overjoyed with it just as a feature in general. So yeah, the focus will be on using just Yareli leading into this. Now, because of the maximum efficiency, also first of all, defensively, brief respite, not a terrible idea. Excuse me. Got a request for Urple from Bite. There we go. 1 Urple applied. We're going to need to have the efficiency. Now, there are a couple of ways of doing this. One way is to go for that combo. That combo. So that hits 175% efficiency with a maximum hit to our duration, but we also get a shield boost in the process. So that is one way of doing the maximum efficiency. The other way would be to instead use beating expertise 1 pip down and a streamline. This gives us 10% more duration, but it comes at the cost of those shield hit points and the airborne damage resistance. So it's a bit of a trade-off in terms of how I want to attend to that there. Also, LU, thank you very much for gifting a sub over to Snake Raider. Much appreciated there. So for the clan leader, I'm fairly certain Snake Raider is a cult leader. All the same. Cheers indeed for the sub. Much appreciated. So, considering the little teeny tiny difference in the duration there, I do find myself leaning more towards going for the Boreal's Hatred approach. But I'm also aware it does mean then that Riptide will be lasting that little bit less long and Sea Snares a little bit less effective, but I might be able to get away with then also not investing in the shields at all. So I can functionally save a mod slot by having that as my shield investment rather than the much stronger mod of Prime Redirection. 65 versus 180%. So we end up at 165 rather than 280 shields, so we're a little bit above half. Yeah, because 1820 is what it would be on that. We're at 1073, so a chunk above half. May be good enough for the slot min-max there. In fact, I imagine it should be, to be quite honest. Yareli is surprisingly resilient. Does Steel Path do anything for open world fishing? Asked Meldade. I don't believe that it does, no. I know that it does nothing for mining, so I'm fairly certain it will do nothing for fishing as well. Fairly certain. I don't imagine it makes the fish have more hit points, but I've never checked that. You never know. But yeah. One of these days you'll catch up with Primes? Alright, it's fine, Zom. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Play it at your own pace. The best way to burn out is to try to do too much. Now, with this approach here, in terms of what I want to actually use on the rest of the setup, we've got Merlina that's just going to be casting away with Sea Snares. I could, theoretically, take that opportunity to then subsume over Sea Snares and allow all of it to just come from Merlina. However, a Yareli caster Sea Snares casts out 5 globules. Merlina is going to be casting 1 at most every half a second. Not sure that throwing out the ability is that smart just yet, especially as with very high efficiency, spammable abilities are better, whereas set and forget abilities like Aqua Blades are less great. Because yeah, they're cheaper, but you usually just set and forget them, so the chucking away of the duration kind of undoes that. It's a trade-off. And Riptide, well, Riptide is still a somewhat powerful grouping ability, worth keeping in all the same. And in fact, I do think at least a stretch in here is going to be a worthwhile inclusion right this moment. Don't both sea snares also stack? Very true, yes. Yeah, the stacking of them is also very real. And Aquablade Sugs, so it's probably just the one to remove anyway. Now that 40% duration does mean that getting these to stack and use them is still going to be basically impossible. 4.8 second duration is not a very long duration. It's long enough, only on the focus target. So by improving the duration with Prime Continuity, we can sort that out. I would consider something like Narrow-Minded, but I'm wanting to keep the range both for casting these out and for applying this grouping. So I'm keeping the range in that focus there. Which leaves us 3 mod slots left, and I do believe that Strength is the order of the day there. Now, if I go for Transmute Fortitude, I'm going to run out of duration again. I have to fix that up. If I go for Blind Rage, I hit the efficiency. It's a little bit rough. It's a little bit rough. Let's think about this. If I went instead the non-impacting ones, I've got, for example, Intensify, August Secrets on those 2 slots. I would have another slot open that I could put in for another duration enhancement. I don't know it needs that much duration, to be honest. Yeah. On Buvasky, would Sentient Wrath stack with Sea Snares on a Miralina? Sentient Wrath for its damage and vulnerability? I imagine it should. Can't say that I want to spam out a second damage vulnerability ability. But I don't see why it wouldn't, yeah. Do the effects stack or just the max number of active snares? No, the effects stack. So if you cast Sea Snares on a target and Merolina casts Sea Snares on the target, then in the case of where you have a 200% damage vulnerability like this, the enemy will get 200% vulnerability and then the 200% again on top of that, effectively giving them 4 times damage received. So yes. Doesn't Archon Flow work for the Sea Snares and Riptide? Work for them is absolutely insane take, so I'm going to assume you don't really mean that. But work off of them, technically yes, practically no. So the issue with this is that Archon Flow is basically just Prime Flow, but with an extra cost and an extra return. That extra return is enemies killed by cold abilities have a 10% chance to drop an energy orb, cooldown 10 seconds. That doesn't get better with higher levels, only the energy max on this goes up. So that is a fixed trait right there, and that fixed trait is terrible. Terrible. Even here, we've got cold damage on this, and that cold damage ramps up over time. Cool, cute, but if you're in a energy demanding enough scenario to consider getting the extra orb drops from this, you're in a scenario where you're going to be needing more damage than Sea Snares does directly. No bueno. And likewise with Riptide. Oh sure, yeah, it deals damage over time. It deals extra damage for additional enemies in the final explosion. It feels like there's some scaling to it, except once again there just is insufficient scaling. Insufficient. So the damage per second is listed as just a 500 on that. I believe it has an increase over time. Let me just double check that. Riptide. Nope, tell a lie. I don't see scaling on that. No, it is just on the Sea Snares where there's scaling over time. My bad. My bad. But yeah, it's still... Okay, so even on that then. So 500 damage per second multiplied by strength. That's just not enough. 2,500 damage on the explosion with an extra 50% per enemy. Sounds good. Until you remember, even with 10 enemies there, that's only going to increase it in the order of 5-fold. We're looking at... What's that then? Sorry, 5 times more. So that's going to give you 6-fold of 2,500, 15,000 base damage multiplied by strength. 15k damage is not game winning. Not at the level where it matters. So yeah. Alright, yes indeed, Valkyr stuffs. Won't be able to go into details just yet due to agreements, but I will be covering it later in the stream. Absolutely. So yeah, because this requires you to kill enemies with cold abilities. Not just abilities, not just kill them, you have to kill them with the cold. A non-DPS type for a 10% chance to get an energy orb with a cooldown attached to it. If you're off cooldown, you could just roll the 10% badly each time and just not get it. But if you get 2 kills within 10 seconds and both of them would roll that 10%, the cooldown says no. So yeah, it's terrible. Archon Flow is not ranked up for that simple reason. It is absolutely piss poor. Of all the Archon mods, this is the only one that does not have a single use case. It is that terrible. You just get Prime Flow, and it is functionally better. What are you saying? The drain isn't that bad? It's 1 point on a polarized slot. That's the point. So you're having a polarized slot and 1 point more drain to get what? Maybe an energy orb somewhere? I can use that drain somewhere better, usually. Or just honestly, the starting energy is almost worth more at that point. So yeah. I just can't recommend it at all. Even if it fits into the build, on sheer principle I won't use it. It's that terrible. On sheer principle. Is there even a single cold damage ability that could trigger Arcane Flow in Steel Path? I think you might get away with Frost 4 because of the armor strip on it. Maybe. But we're really pushing the boat out at that point. Really pushing it out. If you have to super prime enemies to get the job done, you could have spent that energy and time, well, getting the energy. That's my point. That is my point on that one. Alright. Twitch, why have we paused the chat? There we go. Jimmy saying, what's the implication of crit chance over 100% and stage chance over 100%? So crit chance over 100%, it can reapply the critical bonus. Just to dip out to that there a second. So you see over here, crit damage on this particular weapon says 6.6 times. So going from non-crit of 1 times to crit of 6.6 times, our bonus is 5.6 times. If you go to a orange crit, which is a crit above, then you can reapply that bonus. It goes up by 5.6 again. So in that case, the crit will be 12.2 times. So above 100% crit gives you a further chance to re-crit your crit. If you go above 200%, you crit, and then can re-crit again. And there is no cap to it. If you hit 5 million critical chance somehow, then enjoy all of the crits on top of that. The game stops telling you what level of crit you've reached once you hit red crit, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, which is 6 levels of crit. Minimum 501% crit chance to hit that, for a 1% chance of hitting that. As for status chance, every hit has a chance to apply a status effect, depending on the damage types on your weapon, chooses which status type can be applied. If you have over 100%, then you're guaranteed that first proc, and it re-rolls a chance again. If you're over 200%, you're guaranteed 1 and 2 procs, and then it re-rolls the chance again for the percent above 200. And again, unlimited, so if you're at 1000% status chance, that is 10 guaranteed status effects per hit. If you're also hitting 1000 status chance on something, please let me know how the hell you've done that. That's kind of bonkers. But yeah. So that's what that is. That's what over 100% on crit and status means. Okay, so you're ready. Where do I want to take these? I do think the neutral strength options are going to be very solid here. If I go Intensify and Secrets. Because I could go... I mean, I could go for this, which drops the duration down, so I have to fix the duration like so. I can do that, and then I've got the Open Exilus. Thinking about it, what would I want the Open X list to be? Starting energy is a bunch because of shards I'm using. So I don't need preparation. Honestly, I think just give us a little more strength. Sod it, why not, honestly? Why not? Did we test if Arcane Intensify works with Guardian Merlina? I didn't test that, but the wiki does confirm, or at least states, that it works that way. Yeah. If the wiki is correct. If the wiki is correct, then you can achieve it there. Okay, so going with this as the Yareli setup with Loyal Merlina, this would give us plenty workable duration on sea snares. Yeah, it's a little bit below the default, but you should be fine. We've got plenty enough time on Riptide to at least make good on the scooped up enemies. We don't need them scooped up for too long. If they're not dead within 10 seconds, you're doing something wrong, I'd say. And we've got then Merlina casting out those sea snares as often as it is able to do so. Blades exists. Oh, yeah. Ellie say, wouldn't Augur Message be beneficial for the increased set bonus of Augur Secrets over Constitution? It's only 4% loss of duration. Whilst you're correct, do you need the increased set bonus of Augur Secrets? So we've got 40% conversion of energy shields, and here we've got 150, so that's 190%. We'd be trading out, yeah, 4% duration. Only 4% duration. But we'd be trading it out for a little bit more shields. Which one's actually doing us anything at that point? So you're very right, that can be done. Technically, that can be done. I just don't see that it is going to be worthwhile enough. What with Brief Respite in there especially, I just don't see it being worthwhile enough. Yes, the Augur set does function into overshields, but Ellie, if you are consistently grabbing the overshields, you don't need the overshields. That's kind of the point. Could I fit Umbral Intensify without Former? On this setup as it currently stands, I mean, if I did that... no. No, because this is a dash polarity, so it can't, like, move over to there without causing an extra cost. We haven't got enough drain to offset that lot. If I was taking out Power Drift in the process, then we're just losing strength to gain strength. It doesn't make sense. So no, I don't think the Umbral mod would be able to fit into here. Not in a useful way, no. What do we need to see? Say, Aquablade is actually pretty good in Steel Path MO with 300% strength and Raw Subsumed. Okay. Oh, please tell me you're not the person from last time who was doing all this. If you're the person from last time, I'm actually just going to shut you down right now. Pass a sniff test on this one. Someone particularly egregious with, or what if we do everything different rather than focusing on the builder hand? Someone last time that was constantly going on about different forms of energy generation, and it was quite frustrating when someone gets zeroed in on something that doesn't work in a build, or trying to do something different other than, hey, look at the build in front of you. I'm just going to say very simply, without clicking through to it, because you don't get that, Lieutenant Surge here is both a reference and also a very, very clear indicator as to what that build is behind there. I'm aware that Aquablades can be used, but if you're not using the augment for it, it is bad. Categorically bad. Aquablade's attempts to do 1,455 damage with this strength. Per hit, sure. You can get 3 hits in half a second, sure. That's still pathetic damage. Yeah. Not worth. Is this shield gating? No, this is Patrick. Okay, in terms of the arcanes then. In terms of the arcanes. Let's see, what is this going to benefit from most? I think, honestly, I do like having the safety of Arcane Aegis. Especially with the reduced shields going for this approach here, being that extra slot greedier. I think that is going to be the smarter play for survival. Also, yeah, that was supposed to be back to Constitution, because we can fit it. And then... See, the obvious standouts are Arcane Avenger and Molt Augmented. But those are obvious, somewhat boring ones. I don't know that there's much else of value in here. We get a lot of cold, but there's no cold arcane on the Warframe to bring about. There's just a resist cold. We don't care about that. The toxin resistance is no bueno. Pistolier? Pistolier, of course, yes. Of course, Pistolier is the correct answer. You're very right. I mean, if you're using an Incarnate, it's not the correct answer because of how that interacts with Incarnate mode. It doesn't. But outside of that, you're right. In a majority of circumstances, that is just going to be the best one. Otherwise, another Pistol Arcane would probably be good. Arcane Velocity for fire rate, perfectly available. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Gotta say, Arcane Awakening looks a bit shit these days. Actually, it's probably always shit. If I search secondary, does that bring up other stuff? It does. That hurts me. That hurts me. Yep, there's another one. Wait, do I not even have a ranked up Arcane Precision? Damn. I can at least get it that far. So, I think for now, leaving the Pistolier, but if you're using an Incarnate, then either the fire rate or the damage is just going to be the smarter choice there. Or you go for the crits, or you go for the strength, because Molt Augmented and Arcane Avenger are just amazing in themselves. They don't change setups too much, Kubanuka aside, but they do significantly enhance them. Granted, on Yareli it's less so for Arcane Avenger because Yareli is passive. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Zom, you're very right. As much as you can use primaries and melees when doing a non-skater build, the trade-off of throwing away her passive bonus as well, it almost starts to beg the question, why are you using Yareli at that point? Yeah. I ask if you're still getting it because 6.25 energy with brief respite doesn't do that much. But here's the thing. This isn't trying to just shield gate. You can still get enough energy, enough shields off of that to basically reset a moment if things are a little bit tough. And if you manage to get just a little bit of shields back, you've now got yet another chance for Arcane Aegis to trigger. In terms of the shield generated from this, using brief respite and August Secrets, we've got 190% there. 6.25 plus 1.9, it's 11.875 shields. Doesn't sound like a lot. Except shields have a default 50% damage reduction, so we can double that, it's now 23.75. And then we take into account the damage reduction from Merlina, we can time this by 10 again. Now we have functionally 237.5 effective hit points restored on a single cast of Sea Snares. Now that is actually workable, because enemies don't tend to do a bajillion damage in every single shot every single time. So a single cast of Sea Snares giving you that resistance can actually give multiple chances for Arcane Aegis to kick in again, or at least give you enough time to breathe. But besides that, the efficiency is mostly here for Loyal Merlina. That's why it's there. That is why it's there. Ken was saying, although would have to change the build. I feel like that is coming off of something else, because one does not start an entire point of although. LE, yeah, this arcanes are not balanced in general. The arcanes are not balanced. Man, we can sort down to weapons, but we can't. Whatever. So yeah, Arcane Awakening maxing out at 150%. When you reload, lasts for 24 seconds, 60% chance. So every other reload, it actually doesn't activate. to kind of screw you on that one, I suppose. Whereas Precision, every single headshot, no chance basis whatsoever, just headshot, and it's twice as effective. Doesn't last as long, but, you know, you're still getting the headshots. It is kind of wild, the difference there, yeah. Is there a difference in the quality? Yeah, Precision is rare, Awakening is only uncommon, but still. Still. Arcane Rage, meanwhile. Remind me... yeah, on headshot, 15% chance. For nearly... for just over half the damage. I think it's 60% of the damage of the other Arcane. Yeah. There is no parity between Arcanes. There is no balance. And this one's considered a rare. Go figure. Go figure. Happy Hour, I guess the difference is reloading just requires one button press, takes at least a small effort to get a headshot. Counterpoint, reloading takes time that you're not shooting. And if you're multi-reloading just to try and land that, not great. It's just not great. It's just not great. Anyway, let's get the Exceltra off of there. We don't need that on there. Let's switch to something useful like the Burston. Then it'll do just fine for that. Compressor, I think, is in a terrible position at the moment. Yep, it's only rank 8. It needs leveling. I only recently pulled it out of the oven. Naramon. We don't need Naramon right now. Let's put some Zenericon there. Why not? Petition for D is be buffing old Arcanes. Mate, they bring out new Arcanes and they already drop looking a little bit crazy. I mean, just look at the melee Arcanes. The melee Arcanes pretty much, not all, but pretty much came out together. Now tell me that these are balanced. Hmm? So if a new set is going to be quite so all over the place, what's going on with an old set, eh? What are my thoughts on overgating with secondary Fortifier, considering Merylina's particular flavour of damage reduction? Merylina's flavour of damage reduction, does that work with the Overguard? That shouldn't. That shouldn't. Yes, since it's damage redirection. Nice for it to say reduction means... Hold on. Okay. Alright. Investigation is required. Un momento. Tell me I have it. Yes, I do. Okay. Take companion, throw in bin. There we go. I'll take it out of the bin in a moment.
You are a true hunter. Where would the sanctuary be without you?
That doesn't sound great, Meljade. You might need to reload your mission. Oh, teleporting also works. Okay. Just wait for all the relay load hitches. Ugh. Alright, so this should be pretty easy to test. Emphasis on the should. So first of all, we got ourselves an Xmas unit to just kind of farm. Hi, I need your face. Thanks for your face, mate. Get rid of him. And now we grab a Butcher. Reason for Butcher is that they have very reliable and very spaced out damage. I'm going to bring the level down. We don't need very high level. I just need to see a difference in the damage dealt. Also, I need to unpause their AI. Hi, mate. I've got 3,551. What's your first hit? I should probably not have my melee out. Okay, 3,551 down to that. So I lost 453. Okay, 453. Done the numbers. So now activate this. I thought that through. I assure you, I thought that through. Okay. So let's deactivate Marlena. And let's grab an Eximus Butcher, which is actually called a Butcher Eximus. They can't be crowd controlled. Haha. Way ahead of you, Fastfire. Wow. Hello. Okay, yeah, let's not have the one that does that, please. Thanks. Thank you very much. Alright then. Hit me. You missed. There we go. 3098 down to 2645. So I went 3. 55 plus 98, 455. 453 still. Ah, same damage. Okay. 453. Alright then. Now, activate this. He shouldn't be affected. For goodness sake. Go on, hit me. I'm astounded. It works. Why does... for goodness sake, DE. Dark Wolf Seal, thank you very much for resubscribing up 18 months, 1.5 years on the channel here. Much appreciated, dude. Thank you for the continued support. It's not damage reduction, it's redirection. Yeah, I heard that the first time. I do hear that. However, one, the ability doesn't say that. It says damage reduction. The fact that Marlena takes an amount of damage is itself a separate aspect of it. That it absorbs it, sure, why not? But there are other features in the game where like, oh yeah, you're not taking the damage, you're passing it out somewhere else. Do they count? In fact, I can verify one of those. First things first though, Pierce Losmium. Is that Pierce Losmium? Or am I reading that incorrectly? Doing my best there, but all the same, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs out to the community there. That's going out to Warbeastwood, to Crixpel, to Squiggly Goggly, to Ultimate Minority, and to Atlas Moth. Pierce Losmium, much appreciated. Thank you very much on that. Oh. Cheers indeed, and double cheers, because I think that's your first ever gifted subs on the channel. Yes, it is. Double cheers. Okay. I have an idea on how to test this. It is a very, very simple test. First of all, I need a bunch of normal butchers. Why butchers? Because I chose butchers. Just butchers. Hey guys, do you want to get stomped on? Stomp. Cool. That's all I'm going to need from you guys, so you can perish. You can perish. You can perish. You can perish. You can stay there. You will be useful. Now we get the Butcher Eximus. This one I'm going to farm. Thank you very much for the overguard. Perish. He's good down there. Alright then. Let's test this once again. Oh, it's another Jade. Right, there we are. So, hit me. 3794 goes to 3341. 3794, 3341. Or... yeah, yep, 453. Good, that's still working as expected. So now, come on, mate, over here. Come on, come on, come on, you can do it. Over here. That's it. Yoink. The damage is lower. Huh. All this time I've been working under that simple principle of you can't reduce the damage to overguard. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Huh. Well, that certainly does make things a little bit more interesting, doesn't it? Okay. So, at least in Yareli's sake, that's a guaranteed, always on 90% damage reduction to all Overguard, which includes this. I like that. I hate it, but I like it. The duality of man. But seriously, it feels like it's just one of the known things about Overguard is that it can't have any kind of reduction, but I just... Yeah. Okay, well, back to Yareli. Back to Yareli and the menacing surprise she's come with there. I mean, it doesn't make it the only Arcane that you'd want to use with her, but it's certainly a contender. Certainly one hell of a contender there. I have to wonder if that's even intended. Knowing DE, there is every chance they can turn around and go, oh yeah, no, that's not supposed to work like that. Like, logically it makes sense if the damage doesn't get to you, the 90% is taken off first, but by the same logic it could be the damage got to you, but then it took 90% out of it. Yeah. Been like that forever though? Okay. What, that D's been inconsistent, that secondary Fortifier is buffed by Yareli's redirection capability of Merlina, or that we used the word it's when referencing just random things? I don't know. A lot of forever things get changed? Yeah, like the 2-year-old bug, whereupon the primary and secondary incarnates from the Zaraman had the double dip perk with Zarta's Whisper. That was not announced as any kind of bug for a very long time, and then they just went, nah, it's a bug. Or how about that Korra had the ability to heal objectives, and a event came out whereupon Korra was healing objectives, and he went, no, not like that. And straight up canned it. How long was Eclipse affecting scan speed? Very good point. Then I made a video about it, and then it got patched. That one I do think is perhaps a little bit connected to me making a video about it. I will acknowledge that one. It was not a long time between that video and the patch. Not a long one at all. Oh yeah. Also, fun fact, redirection does not redirect damage. Anyway. I know, Ellie. I know, yeah. Contagious Bond? Contagious Bond wasn't unintended. Oh, are you meaning that it got fixed after I made a video? I mean, I made a video about it crashing the game, so yeah. Where am I from? Britain. Better not say anything about redirection then? No, I'll mention it. It's too much of a quirk not to mention. I can guarantee I'll just end up with a litany of comments going, streamer doesn't know about this, which, granted, until a moment ago I didn't know about it, and now more people can know about it. And then if they decide to fix it, well, don't blame me, blame them. They changed it. They change it. So, looking at this setup here, is this where I am satisfied for this to be at this point in time? I think, broadly, I am, yeah. Yeah. Alright. All good. So that's not easy for this wanting you to. That's not wanting you to nuke lobbies. I get what you're saying there, but yeah. It wasn't exactly something that could work too well in a lobby because other people would be killing stuff before your companion could, but it's irrelevant at that point. Which flavor of Britain am I from the parts that hate the big parts? Zero Burst. You're surely not trying to bring in some inter-regional politics and, dare I say, borderline racism into my channel now, are you? We're not trying to stir up some hatred between any particular part of Britain, are we? Because let's face it, that doesn't end very well. Come on. From much saying, there's a forum post about Merlina taking more damage if you have Overguard, but this one replies saying Merlina takes 90% of your damage before... Okay, you're saying about a forum post about someone taking more damage if you have Overguard, but then you've not actually followed up any of that. I mentioned other stuff instead, so I'm not sure what point I can take from that, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Marsha. I'm not actually sure what point I can take from that. People make a forum post about anything. What I need to know is if it's real or not, and I'm not going to test everyone's harebrained idea. Fair enough, Zubas. I get the humor intent, but at the same time, I'm still not a fan of just starting a line of humor on the stream which is inherently based in hate and racism. Let's be real about it. We can do other things. Also, you can tell from my accent where I'm from. Okay. I think this should be sufficient. Now, the only other thing is that Compressor, I'll be honest, is not really my weapon of choice when it comes to killing things whilst on Yareli. So, let's go for Lex. I don't really use Lex, and Lex is, well, it's Lex. Let's give it a run. Fast for asking, is the order such that frame damage reduction takes effect, then Merlina redirects? Not entirely sure, I'll be honest. Not entirely sure on that one. Synechros Trinity's damage redirection ability also give DR to Overguard? Not sure, Daito. Test them out. It could be consistent. Now, Daito. How consistent do you think Warframe is? Do you think it is going to be very consistent, moderately consistent, or dart to the dartboard? So, without testing, I'm not going to make a statement one way or the other on that. Any intent to use Furex Amalgam on any of your ready builds? It's one of those things which you can use, and maybe worth calling out, but I don't really like making Warframe builds that require specific weapons and setups beyond the frame itself. Also, before I get distracted, let's activate my abilities. Oh, and Companion doing Companion things. That happens. It's still going, actually. Still going. Still going. There we go. How many kills? 47 kills. I'm fairly certain I got 3 of those. Companions, so good. Merlina blocking my view, less good. Come on, holding them is supposed to make it easier to headshot. But yeah, dare say this just feels quite effective. Honestly, I'm just hearing the sound of things getting slammed there and just keep shooting until it stops. Now, I dare say this appears to be killing things. There may be some disagreement on that, but not sure what you'd really disagree on. Your legs doesn't do this? I'll guess your legs don't have legs. I didn't pay attention. I looked at chat. This is the problem of trying to figure out what the hell too controversial out of the middle of nothing means. We're really gonna say that? Oh, no! Don't bring a Lich in. No, I hate these. Do I have to delete every single one of my Liches? I'm deleting my Liches right now. I'm fed up with them turning up in missions when I go down once. It's been years. D have not given us the ability to tell them to just sit in the office and not do something, so I'm deleting them all now. They have never been worth it to me, and D clearly refused to make them worth it. Where's the throwaway button? Wait.
Outcomes have been mapped.
There it is. I have not exceeded relinquishing permanently removes and provides no benefits beyond freeing up room. No, it provides a benefit. It provides a benefit. They don't jump into the mission and cause problems. Show them to chat. You know what? Absolutely valid. Who wants some free Liches? We got Ordu Grim, which kind of sounds like the Grenier going, "Oh no!" It's a 34% Kuvaton core. Looks amazing. Totes. There is Toft with a 49% Kuva Brahma. And we've got Zir with a 33% Hind. Don't know why I converted it. We have Omer, a 28% Kuvazar with a full helmet on. We have Tib with a 60% Kuva Barak. Okay, that one might have someone's attentions. Ellie looking to take Toft. Alright. Let's sort this out, Ellie. Send me a message in game. You know how to do this. You know how to do this. Send me a message in game. Look, engineer. I'll bring you into squad. We'll do the trade. Give you that right there. You have one converted adversary. You'll never get rid of them because of the name. Fair enough. I'm getting rid of them right now. Any that don't get claimed right here, right now, I am binning them. I am absolutely dead tired of them turning up in missions uselessly. Oh, there is a filter. This is how they advertised the Uvans back in the Arcane Empire? Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. This is the right of continuity. They can continue to exist in someone else's game. Yeah, I'm clicking the wrong thing. We want to go to Dojo, don't we? Okay. Thank you. You have 3 converted Liches for having them as crew on Railjack? Yeah, they suck on Railjack. they just suck. Kuva Liches converted just suck. Can you summon more than one in a mission? If you got more people to do the summoning, yes. You summon yours, they summon theirs. Otherwise, no. Yeah, fair enough, are you? Now the coda when you convert them? Haven't tried, I imagine just to suck. Why is my game loading so slowly today? I think I know why. Can I make a note for myself? Not something I can fix right now. There we go. I can get back to that. Alright. Noted for self-id. Speaking of loading slowly. Oh, because we don't... No, you can't trade here. You have to go down to the thingy place course. Of course, they made an entirely different trading room for this. I remember now. Yeah. To use the same interface. Oh, God, it's above. Hey! Thanks for the tears. Ellie legitimately crying to receive that. Yeah. You want to challenge yourself with 3 dead weights on your ship? You can just not have crew. You can do that. Yeah. But hey. Doing agile animation is bugged on Yareli Prime? It is? Oh, okay. I don't pay enough attention to those. Brings up base marina. Oh, is that what it does? Okay, fair enough. I hadn't paid enough attention. So, I've still got those few other ones. I can't even look at the list of them in here, can I? No, without opening up a trade. Yeah, I'm just going to leave Dojo so I can properly bring them up again. But yeah, I still have some of those Kuva Liches, including that 60% Toxin Brack. So if anyone wishes to claim that, it's completely free to take. Otherwise, I am deleting it. I don't care that it's a 60%. I am deleting it now if it's not taken. I am this absolutely done with them. Because DE was done with them when they made them, to be quite honest. Converted Kuva Liches suck. No redeeming them. Any sisters? Okay, you're gonna have to miss sister? No, all vanquished. I learnt my lesson apparently. Take the site coda, same again, all vanquished. I learnt my lesson. Why don't I like them? Why should I like them, Snake? I'll be able to see them in traded. There we go. Apparently I've traded a previous one, Boona.
Show me what you have learned. I have learned.
I have learned you're gone. Yeah. Seriously, these just have no value. To you guys, they can have value. They're funny? They're not that funny. When they spawn in a mission and cause me problems, they're not that funny. I'm here to support you. No, you're not. You're just cluttering up my screen and distracting enemies in ways I don't want them to be. Would appreciate getting the 60% one. Yeah, I think that was Omerp. Nope. Was it Tib? It was Tib. All right. Let's grab you a Tib. They die if you spawn if you die? Yeah, which is rare, so they spawn basically every single time I go down. And was that there? Interested in the Brack? Very sorry, someone got to it first. I just hold position them. I don't want them to be in any position. This is the point, Daitai. This is the solution. This is the sole solution to make them not be a problem. Delete them. So I am deleting them. Believe me, if there was a better option, I would be taking it. DE have spent years not giving that option, so I am deleting them. There is no, please do not interfere with my missions button. Can't I make them on-call crew? I could. They still suck. I don't know how many times I need to say this. They suck. Alter count trade with myself, then I get banned, so no thank you. Y'all really coming out with increasingly bad suggestions here, not gonna lie. There we go, one Tib, sent to a bood. Have fun! Can you get a Lich? You absolutely, Seeker. You absolutely can get a Lich. Let me pop out and double check which one you want. Ask them to add the option in the next update now. If they do, you're welcome. You can blame me for that one. And that's a positive change. Happy. Seeker, anything other than the Brahma one. Okay. Let me double check which one it is. So, Ordnu I think is a Toncore. Ordnu can be yours unless someone's specifically asking. Oh, the duality of man. Not the Brahma. Yes, the Brahma. Love it. Alright. So, Seeker can come on in. Nyx can come on in. And take the Brahma if no one wants it. I think that's just been claimed. We've got Toncore, Hind, and Zar. Oh, wait. The Brahma has gone. That was the one that Ellie took then. Very sorry there. And this is why I double check. So yes, Ellie beat Yarl to that one. Let's clean up what I've got here. Seeker going for Zar. Okay, so Seeker wants Omerp. Yeah. And Rain Brothers wants a Toncore. got it. Tonkor was... Ordnu. Well, let's do this. Just gonna wait for the load in. We will resume our regularly scheduled programming right after this. Oh, let's try that again. Yeah, man. Wait, what? Oh, who am I missing then? Sorry, I'm missing Seeker, who also received the invitation. Sorry, I thought they'd already joined. Seeker, damn it. Threw me off. There we go. Alright, we're good. Honestly thought the first person in the squad was the one that was first to message, but... Yeah, I'm gonna not go with the apparently on that, Alex. I've had enough join bugs that I'm not gonna risk that. If someone's not already in the squad, nah. Once I've fully loaded in and invite them, sure, but not before. Seeker's taken the Tsar, which I think was Omer. Rain Brothers going for the Tonkor, which was Ordnu. I'm verifying just a sec. Yep, that's the Tsar. The Seeker. Got it. Nice dojo, by the way. Thank you. I did not construct it myself. A lot of the work in that dojo is a result of Athlia and Beardface. Although I think that main room, that was done by Tomatozaki. Now we got Rain Brothers. You're very welcome, Seeker. Rain Brothers wanted a Tonkor. That was Ordnu. Verify. Yep. Oh, thank you very much for the fish. Large fish, no less. Ooh. Not laying about here with smalls, no, giving me 4 larges. Much appreciated. Seems both players need to be in the Crimson Branch trade. Yeah, you need to be in range of the trading post. So, this room is not in range of the main room. Alright, so I got one last Kuva Lich left. If anyone wants to take that one off of my hands. One last one left, otherwise they are being consigned to the Lotus. And I don't imagine the Lotus has a room in the kennel for that. There's one... Xia Urdko. Yeah, Xia Urdko. A 33% impact Kuva Hind. One of the most impressively terrible choices. But it does come with an ephemera. It does come with an ephemera. So if you'd like to have yourself the impact ephemera, which by the way looks quite nice on some Sentinels, then there you go. It's free. Otherwise I am deleting it. I don't care, it's got an ephemera. We'll also give someone an opportunity on that because frankly, it has got an ephemera, so that is some value to someone, I'm sure. We'll also wait on that. We have now reached the most wonderful hour where I can talk to you a little bit about Valkyr. So, Valkyr, we all know with the workshop, has got some changes up and coming. And I'm sure many of you are aware that, well... Pin from over there, you'll take. Alright, send me a message in game. Exclamation mark join if you don't know how to send me a message. There it is. I'll take it later, sir. Karukas. If you're not Love and Deer, then our Love and Deer was too slow on the uptick. First come, first serve. But yes, indeed, there have been changes announced for Valkyr. I went over the workshop in a video, and quite curiously, there are a couple comments on the video from people suggesting that I shouldn't talk about it just yet, that I should wait for it to be in the game, or in fact, one of them suggested wait for a couple months of it being in the game before commenting on how good it is. I don't know if this person has seen YouTube before, but people don't usually wait 2 months to say something. Yeah. The good news is, I didn't wait a few months. I didn't wait until release. I talked about the workshop as if the workshop was there, ready to be talked about. And as it so happens, DE reached out to me. DE reached out to me and requested, or asked if I'd be so kind as to join onto a... Oh, thank you for the Black Pro Crocus. Join onto a private test of the Valkyr rework with some additional changes they have already made. Trade failed. I didn't read the message. I probably should have read the message. Let's focus on this a second. Crocus. You need to get closer. What? You're not here. Damn, you need to be very literally inside of the room. How can I hit trade with someone who I can't trade? D! Look, I want to sing your praises, but this one hurts me. Is there a teleport to Crimson Branch? Yes, there is. Okay, that's how people have been getting here so quick. So yeah, Crocus. Radial menu, left-hand side, Crimson Branch. Cheers, 1-1. Come on. There we go. Alright then. Now let's do this. Crocus. Have one final Lich. That's what it said. Crocus! Crocus, you already have an adversary. I can't give you a problem when you have a problem. Solve that problem, then you're allowed a new one. Alright, someone else want the Lich? Crocus is not going to finish that in time. Crocus is not going to finish that in time. So, to be very clear, D is not sponsoring this. This was a purely voluntary invitation to test out the Valkyr rework, and they were soliciting feedback on that as well. And I dare say that part of that comes from the fact that I made a video very in-depth covering my opinions on the Valkyr rework as they had posed it. So yeah, it turns out that giving feedback is a good idea. Anyway, some of the things that are changing, I'm recalling this off the top of my head, some of the things they've changed since the initial workshop is that the threshold for the immortality perk has come down from 3/4 of the bar to only half of the bar, so it's quite accessible. Red Robot, you want a Lich? Come on in. Second of all, the armor is increasing a little bit further again, meaning that Valkyr Prime is going to hit a very interesting number. This is all playtest. I want to be very clear. This is all in development, so there's no guarantee that something is actually going to stick around like this. But the base armor, 1,000 on Valkyr Prime. A flat 1k. Astra say armor is useless. Astra, unfortunately, does not understand how the game works. It's fine, Astra. You'll learn quickly. You'll learn quickly. Let me just trade here. Babbly boop, babbly boop. Oh, thank you. Very, very good. Thank you very much. Right, I no longer have liches to delete or suffer. All good. There we are. If invincible, armor is pointless. Yeah, but you're not invincible. Anyway, moving on from people who are going to complain about that stuff, I'm going to focus on the good side, whilst those who want to complain can keep on struggling. I'll be quite honest with you. You've not playtested it. I literally have, and I have the footage. Because I do have the release to share footage as well. Let's see, what do we want to go with first? Do I go with Holvania? Do I go with Infested, Corpus, Grenier? Or do I go with Entrati Labs? I think Entrati Labs will probably be the right one to start with. Astra, why play Warframe over any other game? Same question at you, mate. Same question. Unsponsored, by the way, easy cap. If I say I'm not sponsored, it's because I'm not sponsored. One, because it's the right thing to do. Two, because it's actually illegal to do otherwise. So, yeah. Mods, you can start hitting the timeouts when you feel someone needs one. I'm not interested in naysay hate at this point. I got stuff to show, and I don't need people being an issue. Alright then. Let me switch this to an intermission just so I can switch up the screen on this properly. Because I need to make sure I don't reveal bits that I'm not okay to share. Because that would be bad. Yeah, this will do quite nicely. This one will do quite nicely. Switch screen to that. Move that there, that should be fine. And transition. Okay. Is this a surprise I mentioned last week? No. No. Couldn't talk about this sooner. I mentioned a surprise last week. Must be something else. In any case, so this is a recording from a little bit of disruption. And we've got Valkyr under the playtest. You can see the damage perk is active over on the side here. So we know that this is definitely on the playtest of stuff. Did she feel good to play? I think I'm about to cover that. So how well does she fare?
Just to keep you out.
How well does she fare when coming up against a Demolisher? There it is. Oh. Alright, cool. Well, that's fine. So, does she have damage output? This is, by the way, Steel Path. This is, by the way, Steel Path. Does it look like she's okay? I think she might be struggling there. You know? She might be struggling a little bit. But, hey, there's another key on the ground right there, so we can grab that one and move on to the next bit. How's she doing over there, perhaps? So, I'm gonna go plug that one in. Her little goofy run is still goofy. Not max rank. She is functionally max rank because of MR30 perks to abilities. And that's another one gone. So now it's Bone Widow and Void Rig both destroyed. Yeah. They perished. This is a setup that is using Warcry, Eternal War, orb drops from Varuna's Lycath's Hunt, using Diriga to keep that running because it's just a sensible thing to do. Gruzlings are a little bit more problematic to deal with. Gruzlings, they are just weirdly tanky units, aren't they? So you have to chase them down from room to room and it's already dead. It's already dead. So far, I would say that is a pretty good example of just deleting. This is me being bad at using Ripline, so I try it again. Much better. The Ripline feels so much smoother. So much smoother. Was the passive adjusted? Yes. Whether you're asking in the pre-workshop or post-workshop, the answer is still yes. And again, that's another Demolisher down whilst nattering about it. So I think that's enough of a point on the disruption. Let me switch this back to the intermission so I can grab another clip for you. I realise I've not had a certain detail on that I was supposed to have this entire time, but that's fine. I will turn it on now. There we go. Okay, let's grab that next clip. Let's go for... This one should be EDA. Yeah, that is in fact EDA. There's that bug that I reported. There will be some bugs because it's playtest. That happens. By wanting instrumental rock in the background, I'm going to actually decline that for the moment. Sorry, bye. Just not on a rock vibe right this second. Now, at the start of EDA, head talk of the build I used was it Umbral base? Not Umbral, no. In fact, having looked at everything about Valkyr, I decided that Umbral was not the way forwards. Strongly feel that Umbral is just not the right pickup for Valkyr. And I say that currently having an Umbral polarity on her melee, which I'm going to remove that. I'm straight up going to remove that. I don't know why there's an Umbral polarity on her melee, but it's going away. If only Umbral became universal. I'm focusing on the Yareli. Yareli? We've done that bit. Focusing on the Valkyr right now. So, let me switch over to this new one. Here we go. Now, this one, if I recall correctly from the clip, as it's been a couple days, was a little bit rockier. Because this is EDA with all the modifiers it wanted to put on. So I have reduced ability durations. I have energy drain from nearby enemies. We got the slowing effect of being near to enemies that are killed. All of the same modifiers that you can see currently in EDA yourself, those were the modifiers I was dealing with here. All modifiers on. So you can see again such a Demolisher, which is also EDA level 400. It's a little bit more work to get through it. I need to maintain the energy, and it turns out that is actually quite a bit more of a problem. Energy runs out right here, because I didn't move off to go kill other enemies, and so I've just not managed to maintain it. That, quite frankly, was a failure in myself. I stayed attacking the one energy draining enemy rather than going to get more energy. But she's not dead. She ran out of energy. She's not immortal. How is she not dead? It's almost as if health tanking does exist. I know this is a wild concept to a lot of people, but health tanking, supplemented by a little bit of shield gate, actually does exist. Is this base EDA or modifiers? All modifiers. The only modifiers I basically didn't pick up is that I didn't go with a specific primary, secondary, melee, and frame. Because I'm demonstrating a frame with its exalted. So yeah. Horizon, if you don't want to listen to me, fuck off. I've made my point. You don't believe me? Fuck off. Cool. Yes, there was a ban. So overall, looks to me like she's actually handling. Now, I couldn't test this in further. EDA missions did not have access due to the way the test server was set up. But I was able to at least go this far with it. And I can confirm she goes all the way to 10 minutes. At this point here, I actually hit a lull in the mission just because of the way the enemy spawns are working. They were too busy getting damaged elsewhere. So, stops being of particular interest there, but she just survives. Now, how could she possibly survive? Might be the question. How can she survive? Armor doesn't work. You feel that energy drain is too high? This is in EDA with modifiers where the energy drain is coming down. What did Horizon say? Horizon believes that I'm actually paid by DE for this. I'm not. This is not sponsored. It was a voluntary invitation which I accepted. If you don't believe that I'm not sponsored, fine. Stay to yourself. If you believe that I am breaking the law, go ahead and report it to the authorities, and I will look forward to just handing them the single confidential email that proves otherwise. Good fucking job. If you want to be really pissy about it, speak to my lawyer, it's fine. Anyway, switch it back to an intermission. So yes, half duration meaning double energy drain, and also further energy drain for having nearby enemies. That was worst case scenario energy drain. Her base energy drain, as it stands on the current live build, is up to 15 per second. Workshop, they said they're bringing that down to max 10 per second. that setup was 5 per second. Not scales up to, just fixed, 5, that's it. It doesn't go any higher, aside from just, your efficiency stat. So they have brought down the energy drain to 1/3 of what it is on live, probably in respect of the comments rightly pointing out that other exalted frames, like for example Titania, were having a similar level of drain. So yeah. How it's going to work for new players, aka not shield gate health tank pros, with a frame with a base armor of 1000, with Warcry giving you more, with Hysteria giving you more, you know what, I think they're fine actually. I say this as someone who uses a frame with 2000 armor routinely, Lavos, who does not have shield gate from August Set or Brief Respite, because no energy, who also doesn't have constant health regeneration because there is a cooldown on his 1. You're fine. Do you need Arcane Reaper on here? On her? Don't need it. I had it there as a secondary part of the test. But I wouldn't say you need it in the majority of circumstances, no. And during the explanation, there's a way to fix that. Just type ADS. The bot will remind you how that works. So yeah. Now, let's see. If you've got 1000 base armor, and then what did I have? I had a 97% bonus from Warcry, and another 198%, was that 194% from Hysteria. That brings the armor value to 3,910.
14 is a nice number.
3,910 armor before the bonus also coming in from Arcane Reaper, which is at this point just a little bit on top. And having the healing that she can do. Kinda bonkers. Does the armor multiplier to Warcry and Hysteria work when you don't use melee? When I switched off of her melee, it did seem to go away, yes. On the UI, it looked like it went away. Don't know if that's intended or not, but that's what it looked like at the time. Also, Petra, thank you very much for the 14-month resub there. It is a nice number. Thank you very much for the continued support on the channel there. And I hope you're having yourself a good one. Oh. Did they buff the healing at all? Oh, I think they doubled it, actually. Yeah. Just to make sure I'm on the right side of NDA of some of the details, I'm not referring to the exact information they gave me. Just to be very clear on that. So I am only going by clips and memory. Not back to a percent-based lifesteal? No, but also not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. She hits very bloody fast. Yeah, fine. Can we get Urple back? We can. There you go. Lovendeer, thank you very much for the Prime sub right there. Much appreciated. Welcome into the channel proper. Enjoy your lovely blue sub badge. No more ads for you, and all the other bits and pieces that come with that. Cheers. Okay, now, maybe I'm just picking 2 missions where, she just survives anyway. Yeah, maybe I'm picking the ones which are just the easiest, right? You might believe, Kengineer, you've not been testing enough. You've only looked at a little bit of lab stuff, so there's no way that that is a fair representation of everything that's going on. Can't you bring out something better to bear? I need to skip this one ahead a little bit so that it's not got any do not disclose stuff. Let's get to start a mission. There we go. Let's have a look at the next bit. What if she's against a mission of Corpus? Corpus are well known for getting in the way of players that want to survive things. Activate the abilities right in front of the enemies, and then just... I'm currently using basically Corrosive Slash. This is Steel Path Survival, Corrosive Slash, so just the wrong types. Yeah, I know the test build footage goes over my face. Yeah, it's fine. And she's just tearing through them. The moveset feels great. Riplining into enemies, honestly, not too terrible. It's not perfectly fast, but yeah. Look at that. Straight in. That just works. And because it's cheap to cast, getting you into the engagement, it's also great for proccing things which proc on ability cast, like melee exposure. So that also works. Do they buff the base pull range and reply? They buff the how quick it activates, and they also buff that it pulls you into the enemy rather than pulling the enemy singular to you, whilst doing a small group. It is a small grouping effect, and so it's not something I particularly relied on in this testing here. But as you can see, it's kind of cutting through. It is kind of cutting through. And this is my individual gameplay. This isn't set up to perfectly demonstrate one thing or another. This is me just going, yeah, how does this work? Decay rate seems very generous. Oh yeah, the decay rate on the melee passive is basically, so long as you're still fighting at some point today, you're good. Is she not going to need any build changes? I did make build changes to get more power out of her, but I did also test her in EDA without making build changes. It wasn't as good as an updated build, but it was still capable. But changes to fit the new setup is still smart. But that's Corpus. You know, the Corpus are pushovers. Let's be real. We've just seen out there. The Corpus are pushovers. So, you know, maybe that's not the right one to go for. What does a health tank fear? What does someone fear if they're relying on hit points rather than immortality? They probably fear, well, something that bypasses even the slightest shield gate, right? Maybe we need to be scared of something with Toxin. Let's see, do I have something that could possibly have to worry about Toxin? Nah, I wouldn't have been smart enough to test against that, would I? I wouldn't have been smart enough to test against something like that. That would have been sensible. Oh, right, yeah. Okay, how'd she handle against an infested defense mission then? I mean, she could just kind of tear all over the map, use the Tennokai that we've also got to do those radial slams, which just kind of eat into things, not seem to give the slightest bit of a damn. Granted, this is wave 1 at the moment, there's only a couple Xmas here or there, and that's the wave. Oh, there's one more. I was still getting used to quite how mobile she is. So, alright, that went well. Have to do a little bit of bounce on the defense before wait, and in we go again. Rip and tear until it's done. What are people's genuine concerns at this point? You mostly die to whatever the 1999 capture targets are doing these days? Ooh, interesting. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. That was a 25 million damage hit. One of them was, anyway. How's influence on her? Didn't even try it. I didn't want to touch influence on her, so I didn't. I entirely did this with melee exposure because it's just a shove more elemental damage in there. So if you can get more out of her, yay. How much range on that Valk? Just prime reach. So that's going to be with the 2.15 meters they made it? Plus 3, so about 5 meter range. Curious about how level cap will hold up? Level cap is not my focus, nor is it DE's focus. So yeah. Prime reach? Yeah, this was using primed reach. 55 million damage hit. Just need to skip forward a bit because of the little playtest bug. What's the PH tag on the weekly mission? Damn, did I miss one? Sorry. I'm trying to avoid having any of the buggy testy bits come through, because buggy testy bits will come through. But they didn't tell me to delete any particular bit of footage, so it's fine. 55 million doesn't matter against attenuation? Yeah, I suppose you're right. I suppose you're right. Guys! Guys! Die by Currents just mentioned it. 55 million damage doesn't matter against attenuation. So... I guess... The, That is not, by the way, 4 trillion damage. What a frame to pick by chance. That is 2 overlapping damage numbers. I want to be very clear on that. I didn't land a 4 trillion. That was unintentional, but I love it. There we go. That's a little bit more normal looking. Okay. But yeah, she just kind of cleared through. Now, I want to point out the length of the clip. I get to completing all 6 waves, in just over 5 minutes. Steel Path Defense, and she's done 2 rotations in 5 minutes. Without dying, without even feeling slightly threatened. I don't feel like that's a concern. But, you know, there are other concerns people can have. So we switch to another intermission screen where we go, Ken, surely you don't have yet more reasoning for why people shouldn't be concerned. And I go, oh, but would you believe it? What if one were to go up against a Steel Path Legasite? Now, I didn't have access to an ETA Legasite. Sorry, Kalimos, I just kind of slammed millions of damage into face. Good thing Kalimos is an immortal ghost cat. It happens. But yeah, and this is without using her paralysis, because I'll be quite honest, paralysis is my least interested bit of them all.
Bring it down and drain it.
Alright, Legasite, where are you at? Somewhere down this way? Yeah, I decided to just be out of the way, and it actually took me a moment to find. This was a decoy. I'm like, yeah, I found it. Oh wait, that wasn't it. Bamboozled. It was actually hiding up on the next floor. I got stuck in the rafters. I'm really good at this game, I promise. Anyway, let's kill this thing. Now, yeah, you can't one-shot it with millions of damage because it does indeed have some damage resistance. But despite having no crowd control, no cold procs in this setup, we'd still deal with it. We still deal with it. Slash procs from Legasites are a pain. Valkyr is status immune. It's status immune. So again, this is Steel Path, not EDA. Or ETA in this case. Only Steel Path. I didn't have the opportunity to test against Legasite any higher. But yeah, still did the damage. Toxic damage reduced by armor? That it is. Did they improve talent status chance? No, but they added forced procs. So you just skip around it entirely. Alright, let's skip ahead to when Kalimos actually finds what we're looking for. Come on, kitty, do the meow thing. Alright, cool, there's a Legasite. And so, going to use a little bit of mobility to get there quicker. Got the benefit of Ripline actually pulling you the full distance. Very nice feeling. Genuinely nice feeling there. And again, it is tied to your range stat, so you don't want to have 0 range if you still want to have the benefit of it. And then we just kind of wail on it. It tried to threaten us, it absolutely failed. We've got Aquablade spinning around us. Not even slightly concerned. Not even slightly concerned that there's Aquablades running around us. And also a melee block on that one whilst I was capturing it. Actually kind of hilarious how effective that is. So, is she immortal? No. Is she capable? Yes. Am I slightly concerned for her update? There's some bits that I given feedback on. But what I want you to understand is that D have heard our feedback and are continuing to take feedback, are seeking to make sure that she is plenty effective. Is her passive additive to Pressure Point? I believe it is, yes. So you just not want to use Pressure Point, quite frankly. As I'm saying, chat's kind of a flurry. Not sure if people are maybe being on Devil's Advocate, you know, certainly a different type of player. It mostly feels like it's putting the armor and health in front of the Invuln, so you can use it if you want. But you don't seem to need to use it. Its passive looks plenty doable if you have stuff gating. Yeah, the passive is there, and with a weaker setup, the passive becomes relevant. If you get one shot out of nowhere, it is possible. But it just didn't seem that necessary. However, when I was using the original build, the current live build that I would use for Valkyr in EDA, and took that to EDA, I did end up relying on the passive, and I did need to make sure I got it back quick enough, yes. But still, it's fine. Did they take some further look on the augments? I have not been able to dive that far into it. My main focus was General Valkyr. That's what I was looking at. That's what I was invited to. Actually before, from what I heard, people are also annoyed about Vampiric Luminous and EDA fragmented, the boss, and D's seeming stance against Grey Health Bar, and the explanation they gave. Okay, wow. I'll be quite honest, dude. You've thrown together like a bunch of different pieces there. Vampiric Luminous, yeah, they can be threatening. You're supposed to run away from them. Everyone's supposed to run away from them. EDA fragmented, AA the boss. Did I do... I don't think I did a run against that boss. Didn't have enough time. No, I didn't have enough time in the end for that. So, how will she fare against that? Hard to say at this point. Hard to say. Certainly an EDA didn't have the opportunity to test that, just because the way test server is set up. How much time did I have with it? I have, like... Let me see here. So, of just the footage I recorded, I have 24 gigabytes of footage saved. 24 gig of 1080p. So make of that what you will in terms of how much that is. I could look up the times, but I'm not going to add them together right now. CBA. Vampiric Luminous, the untouchable damage aura? Yeah. Did they change any of the values with the armor from Warcry? To my understanding at this point, no. Because you still get the triple effect from Hysteria, and Valkyr's base armor is looking to go even higher than they said in the workshop. And now I have one last clip. At least one last clip out of the clips that I wish to share right now. Let me just grab it up. It will be... this one? Yep. And again, I'm making sure I'm sticking to stuff cleared for public release. This should be okay. Here we are. Now what happens if you take away damage attenuation? What happens if you take away the EDA modifiers? What happens if you take away the risk of nullifiers?
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules.
They've shut down all systems to life support, but we're fine. Can you just start tearing your way through the Grineer and just feel like a rage-filled barbarian badass? Yes. Yes, you can. And there's not really anything they could do to stop you. Am I actually an engineer? I'm a engineer, not an engineer. They sound the same, but they're not. People are overreacting. I mean, you can say people and then put pretty much anything on the end. You'll be correct about someone somewhere. There are people that think tea is disgusting leaf water. We can't help everyone. Seems like a mix of different frames to Valkyr. Ripline, Warcry, Hysteria, go Burr. Armor, Angry, Kitty with claws. I don't really get what you want from Warframe. If you look at a Valkyr right now and go, yeah, this isn't a Valkyr. I really don't know what could possibly satisfy you. Frankly, I don't know if anyone, man, woman, or otherwise, could possibly satisfy you. So, yeah, maybe articulate it without just going Earnidus, but articulate it to DE, because I'm satisfied. Like, just genuinely.
I've delivered a life support capsule to the area.
Curious about the build because I got non-Umbral. The thing with Umbral is that the Umbral set is at full power if you also include Umbral Fiber. And Umbral Fiber is adding in, yeah, it's adding in some armor, but she's able to give herself plenty enough armor that it's kind of pointless to waste a whole slot on that. You satisfied with Valkyrie as she was? Well, fair enough, Mr. Wads. The general community did not agree with you on the basis of she's one of the least played frames. Sure. Thoughts on running Triumbral with an unranked Umbral Fiber, so you're gaining a little bit of extra strength and health. by consuming a slot to give yourself basically no extra armor as well. I don't get it. What's that supposed to achieve that isn't achieved by just dropping it and using, say, Augur Secrets? I just don't get it. A lot of people... I don't care what, quote, a lot of people said. Speak for yourself, Mr. Wads. Speak for yourself. You are an individual. You can speak for yourself. If you need to refer to people, guess what? People love it as well. I can counter your people with my people. So it's a moot point. Except I also have test footage of her tearing through stuff, so make of it what you will. And again, I'm not using armor strips here. I don't think no, I wasn't even using corrosive projection. My companion is status priming a little bit, but I'm not even using those for status primer. This isn't a condition overload setup. I figured again, we've got a 300% melee damage from a passive. I got stuck there for a moment, that just felt painful, but yeah. Is 3 still short range overcosted? Yes, which is why I subsumed it off. Oh hey, violence! Okay, yeah, I'm about to get nullified then, right? Hi, mate! Ah, shit, he's dead. Yeah, so it still works for that as well. Should be surprised by sneers and dismissals at this point. Mate, if people are going to come in and be like, oh, no, Valkyr's going to suck, when they literally haven't been able to test it, and I have. At that point, it's a case of someone going, no, people, versus actual physical evidence. The correct answer at that point is to tell them, shut up, you can't put up. Quite frankly. Oh no, Stalker's come in. My Tenno powers are useless. Alright, well, I'll just hit you with my normal melee then, I guess. When he makes himself vulnerable to being killed again, where even is he hiding? Ah, there he is. Cool, he's down. Reactivate abilities. Yeah. Everything shown could do it pre-rework as well. Her damage has increased. Her rip line, you could not do that with before. It has absolutely been altered. Her movesets are smoother, so that is an alteration. If your point is, oh, but she could kill before, yes. Yes, she could kill before. That's why this is a rebalance, not a complete redo of her setup. If you want to complain further, though, you can take it to DE. You're absolutely welcome if you think that losing that immortality is the end of things. By the way, I'm still pretty against immortality in general in a game like this. When that immortality becomes level agnostic, there's nothing left to level scale, and that's a bad thing. Too many people are getting too used to the idea of level cap being accessible. Do you won't listen? Shit. You're right, guys. Yeah, Mr. Wads has just claimed that DE won't listen. Except for the bit where they listened. Sorry, Wads. I don't think you actually like being on this channel, so I'm going to time you out. I've had enough of your just complete dismissal, quite frankly. And to say that DE won't listen when they specifically invited in a creator to playtest and give them further feedback, having already implemented changes. You clearly just don't want to be here, so. So you don't listen to him specifically? They're listening to the community. I've not given them every bit of feedback they've listened to. They've been listening to the community. If someone sees an entire community of voices and goes, yeah, but my one voice isn't actively changing the game, that has got to be the most self-centered approach. Seriously. If you see changes being made in response to community feedback and going, but I don't know that my particular voice made the difference. Where do you think you really sit in things? You're one of a community. Got any footage without Diriga? No. No, because Diriga was absolutely huge in terms of making sure that Varuna's Lycraft hunt was staying up there. So it's an intentional part of the build. But you can do that in various other ways. You can use status primer, you can use other companions, you could just make sure there's enough status in general to get there, or have a different energy sustain. That's what it's primarily there for, energy sustain. Just a damn good amount of it. Point is, it bloody well works. So yeah. If I come across a slide during that, quite frankly, the number of naysayers is absolutely disgusting at this point, when out of everyone on this stream, I am the only person to have played with New Valkyr. I don't know what else to tell you at that point. Out of all of us here, they are. Alright. Assuming Ken's going over the changes already, anyone got a timestamp summary? The last 45 minutes of stream. That'll do it for you. Just the most recent 45 minutes. Does she still lose all of her passive on death prevention? Yes. And then you get it back by hitting things. Can I show what build I was using on her? Not just yet, no. That'll come in future. Further changes? They changed more? Yes, they did. That's what I've just gone over. That's what I've just gone over. Welcome to a live stream. But overall, it looks like they are intending to make her genuinely fun to use. Genuinely fun to use. And responding to the feedback in a very positive way. You don't control ads? Well, one, it's been 45 minutes. Two, you can subscribe, so sure. That's what I meant by just gone over, the last 45 minutes. Yeah. Campbell saying, as a rebalance, I'm somewhat neutral on the changes. Okay. As a rework, not too thrilled. Well, sure, alright. If they plan to change other types of permanent invincibility in the future, we're fine with it. So that's your actual point, if I understand, is that you feel hard done by because they've addressed one form of a level agnostic invulnerability. And this is a point that I have also made in the video that I put out, that level agnostic immortality is itself its own problem, yeah. I absolutely agree. It is its own problem, and it is a problem that it's overdue to be adjusted, and it looks like you're having that in mind. You wish instead of melee damage, the passive gave a different form of damage reduction stack over armor. Prefer having go open mod slot on Warframe than on melee. It gives a damage reduction in that it gives you an immortality gate, if it comes to it. So that is also there. You're actually getting both. You're right to an extent, Zon. You're right to an extent. They have moved it over. It's gone from functionally passive immortality to more active. You do need to recharge it, but you're right to an extent there, Zon. They have put that in through the death gate. If the death gate had a cooldown on it, perhaps that would be more in line with the general non-agnostic immortality. But to be quite honest, I get the impression that if they were to put that in, we'd see more of the last bunch of toxic comments of people going, no, this is terrible, this is bad, this is no good, oh god, health tanking doesn't work, you can't use it. I don't know if I can really properly convey how utterly ridiculous it is to have to constantly see such comments when I can't tell what one of you is going to say until I've read your comment. There's no pre-warning I get of bad take inbound. All I get is, oh, there's a message from someone, let's see what they've said. Oh, it's another person saying that health tanking doesn't work, to the person who mains a health tank frame and is the only person in this particular community who has playtested in EDA, Legacy Harvest, Entrati Disruption, Infested Defense, Corpus Survival, Grenadier Survival with the new changes. I mean, it sound like added changes? Yeah, because they added changes. They changed the armor up again. They changed the passive death gate trigger at 50% rather than 75%. They changed the energy drain further, and some other bits and pieces I think I've gone throughout that. Quick Jaeger, I've literally been covering it. Sorry for the misunderstanding there, but you are one of many. And again, we've got some people being ridiculous about this. With 50% range, is Ripline worth using in your opinion? If you're using a 50% range setup, probably not, but then you can afford to not use a 50% range setup. And it might be a more sensible idea not to do so, so that you can actually get value out of more abilities. Is there a link to the newer changes? I don't believe they have made a post on that as yet. Let's actually have a look at the workshop if I can real quick. Valkyr Dev Workshop. I don't believe they've made notes, but let's have a look. Anders. I mean, the only thing I need to check is the energy cost on Hysteria, if that's not changed. Nope, that's not changed. They've not posted it as yet. So you've literally got the info here first. You've literally got this information here first. So, you're welcome, quite frankly. Why keep buffing the armor over giving a damage reduction? I don't know what you think armor does. But okay. I just... Oh, how dare they buff the damage reduction instead of buffing the damage reduction? Yeah. I just... Oh dear. I mean, anyone who missed it, you might not be understanding, but I did just show footage from 6 different... Was it 6 or 7? Yeah, I think 6 different missions, 5 different factions, including, in one case, EDA modifiers almost specifically designed to ruin Valkyr. That was it. There was one way when you cast ability, you get a 10% reduction in armor. So, armor reduction, duration reduction, energy sapping, EDA. She survived. Didn't even struggle. Just had to use her correctly. And even when I did it slightly incorrectly, she survived. Oh dear. Hypersickle saying it's different because you can mod for armor, so it's less valuable than a separate damage reduction modifier. That's not the reason it's less valuable. The reason that armor can seem to be less valuable is because of the way the scaling equation works, and that other damage reduction sources, certainly very strong ones, can seem to multiply with it powerfully. In fact, a fair comparison on that is Yareli. Yareli is a brilliant comparison for just how effective this is. Astra I couldn't test in team play due to the very nature of the test server, so I can't give you an idea on that, sorry. Yareli does give a good example as to the relative limits of armor, because if you're tanking with just shields and Merlina, you've got shield 50% damage reduction, Merlina 90% damage reduction, you end up with 95% damage reduction. To get 95% damage reduction with armor is, I believe, 5,700. Yep, it's 5,700 armor. So Yareli just adding on Merlina is tanking with the equivalent of a health tank using 5,700 armor. Which is part of why Yareli seems so damn resilient. Absolutely. But that does not mean that the general point of don't add armor, add damage reduction is correct. It is misguided for believing that an armor increase can't qualify. Because if one's armor is 5,700, you have the same damage reduction as this Yareli's 90% plus the 50% from shields. Yes, Arathor, I literally just said that. Please tell me you didn't arrive in the last 5 seconds to try and correct me. I literally just said shields at 50%, and that stacks with the 90% from Merlina. There's a lot of people embarrassing themselves today. Maybe I'm one of them, but there's a lot of people doing it. You didn't send it slightly before me, because I said it at the start of the whole point on comparing to Yareli Arathor. I said it at the start of it. Unless you're on a 5-minute delay, which you're not because you replied to me. So yeah. Zom, you've been saying your thoughts throughout. You even highlighted a message which I did respond to. How much more are you adding on to it, really? No, I've seen your comments, actually. So yeah. You didn't hear at the start. Oh, there it is then. I'm being corrected because you missed it. Fair enough. Hyperstar saying, yes, blah DR exists as equivalent to blah, but the point is you can have multiplied that equivalent DR by running something like health conversion. You can obtain an amount of armor with, for example, health conversion. Yes, health conversion, by the way, will leave you with less than you can easily already get on Valkyr with her abilities in the rework. So, what else do we have except invulnerability going below half? I mean, what did they change? Variety of bits and pieces. There's a lot of public posts. I'm not going to keep repeating everything for people who've missed the last hour, sorry. There will be further details. I'm giving you this as soon as I've been allowed to do so. You're just going to have to catch up, basically. Is Merlina damage reduction or damage redirection? Damage redirection, but same for the purpose we were talking about. Yes. You thought armor only affects health? Correct. Yes, armor only affects health. You did also miss here, J. Gibbs. Alright. Consider that a warning. Don't be that pedantic. Now I'm trying to think if there's anything further I need to do with this on Yareli. No, honestly, it works. And if people want to complain, actually, I'm at the point of going, honestly, it fucking works. Get good. Replace stretch with reach and put corrosive projection on aura. No. Cheers. What are my shards on Yareli? Good question. Hey, we have a good question. I want that button. So I've gone for, at the moment, a maximum energy field on spawn because she kind of lives and dies by having her defenses active and able to actually do the rest of her stuff. So having that energy to immediately get going just makes sense to me. And then I've got a couple casting speeds on here because casting speed honestly is quite nice for her, especially if you're going for a Surging Blade setup. It just works there. I've got 2 open slots, which I'm not going to throw shards into at this time because they're not required, whereas those other ones are very effective. I don't like putting shards into a frame before doing a full showcase unless they are really effective standout items. But because these are so standout, I'm happy for those to be in there whilst testing and demoing. Ultimately, it's a case of not everyone has infinite shards. Look at how many people are already commenting on the shards I have. So setups that can work with as few shards as possible is always a positive in my win. You can't trade for shards after all. So just making it more accessible is a good idea. Very strong without any mods. True, I have done, and this was in the past, done Steel Path mission entirely with an unmodded Yareli, but mods make her better. Mods make her better. So let's see, I did that with Lex. Let's swap for a different weapon. Let's try with... Let's go Dual Toxicist. Dual Toxicist is a nice one. Do no aim. I can be lazier. Goo Gallagher pointing out, you said they should add higher tier health and armor mods, assuming they will be galvanized mods. What would I like them to do? So I did say in the video I put out that if D wants us to continue tanking into higher tiers there with health tanking, then perhaps it's about time to add in those higher tier defensive mods, because we've not had higher tier defensive mods for a while. Absolutely. Instead, D went with reinforcing Valkyr's abilities more to deal with that instead. I said instead twice, my bad. So yeah. My point does still stand in that if they're going to continuously increase the levels, then commensurate defensive mods are also going to be required. But they have made Valkyr in the rework defensive enough that she doesn't need new mods to do it. Because again, they took the feedback and made it work. As a very important point, I did the video before I was able to access the playtest of it, and now I've had access to the playtest of it, and that does make a difference. If you're starting to farm Arcanes, where should you start? Which Phosphor packs should you start rolling first? I wouldn't go straight to Phosphor packs, because at that point you are basically throwing away Arcanes for a lower return than if you traded most of them. Gamba in almost any game is going to be less efficient than the standard options. And standard option in this case is you can trade. In terms of farming Arcanes, it's usually better to just farm... Oh, wrong gun. Farm the Arcanes you're looking for. So if you're looking for Mirror Defense Arcanes, farming Mirror Defense is going to be the fastest. By and large. God damn it. Companion, stop showing off. Not Merlina, just spinning around the corner as well. Arathel, I completely and vehemently disagree, and I've covered that as well in the video, so I'll leave you to your particular opinion on adding in health gates. I strongly disagree. Very true, Snake. Yep. True, pack gambling does also take a fair amount of credits, so do factor that into farming. If you have loads of credits, then fine, but if you don't, it also matters.
I've delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time.
See, I don't feel at all at a disadvantage from having to step off Merlina here. Yeah, I can't heal it, I can't give myself the fire rate buff, but instead I'm just free to move around in a normal Warframe fashion. That does work. In terms of it giving the sea snares buff, I am seeing it in places, but I guess these enemies are just weak enough that it doesn't really matter to me. There we go, got the headshots, chain them up a bit. There it is. I do notice I have to pay a bit more attention on keeping Merlina alive here, because it looks like it dies a little bit more quietly. Giving us away. Is this a new mod? Not a new mod, no, this is just me refocusing on Yareli since the primer's come out, and therefore also knowing that things have changed since my original Yareli guide. I know, Arathel. Yeah, thank you. How am I not hitting that headshot?
Another life support capsule is now available.
There we go. Now, I'm maintaining enough of a kill rate to maintain standard life support, so I guess I just have missed a few pickups somewhere. Or I'm being a little bit unlucky on RNG. Because the kill rate should be there. Not just previous stream, I covered it actually today. It's just, yeah, it's a live stream. And I'll reload, and we're good. Yep. Loyal Merlina, come back. One thing I do notice is that the Loyal Merlina, it has a timer on it for how long the... what's it called? sea stairs, cast it to sea name. The sea stair lasts, but that time isn't anything about Merlina herself. So if Merlina despawns, but I'm looking stupidly at the time, not the unique Merlina UI, I am going to end up not noticing. That's just a little bit of information reliance. I need to remember what I'm relying on. Also, I shouldn't have killed that Jade. I need that for a test. Oops. That'll be fine. Next Jade Xmas I see, I'll try and remember. Hi, Angst. You want to get obliterated? Just show your face. It'll be fine. Oh, okay. Teleport behind me. That's fine too. There we go. Not my best, but then the damage numbers make it harder to see the head. That is my excuse. I'm sticking with it.
Successful start. When you need it, extraction is ready.
Yeah, honestly, she just casually works, but she is still also kind of just a weapons platform. If I am going for a headshot focused approach, I don't find as much value in Riptide like this, because it takes the headshots away from being easily hit. So it's a neat little grouping tool, but not as valuable to me. That, however, works. You think base already looks better? Fair enough. I will not weigh in on that discussion because I have no horse in that race and no qualification on it either. Hit the headshots, please. There we go. Come on, we got another Jade Xmas somewhere? Would be lovely. Electric disc into a giant bubble. I'm a cruel man. Hey, it's just effective. They put out of their misery very quickly. And this is tier 3 Void, so they've got the extra damage enhancement, so these are hitting with the damage of like level, what was it, 400s or so? I think it was like level 400. Need a fashioneer? I'm sure there are other creators that cover fashion. Don't know who to recommend, because I don't know anything about fashion. I'm sure there are creators that cover that. How do Void tier bonuses work again? So just the last branch of the Void is what's known as tier 4 Void, and it gives triple damage to the enemies. For reasons. I don't think it's actually noted anywhere usefully in-game. They just do more damage. And it's only that one. So you get to a sudden surprise jump in damage, and the game just kind of shrugs at you and goes, what, you didn't see that coming? Oops, run out of ammo. I've been very... Stop going up and down. Sit in the bubble and stay there. Cool. Alright, there we go. Yeah, I know I've not got the best kill rate here, but then I am just kind of slightly derping around. Yeah, the whole tier 4 Void extra damage thing definitely was a barrier for me as a brand new player. When I encountered it, I actually couldn't get through the mobile defense mission at first, because they were just doing so much damage and I didn't have an appropriate defensive frame to hold them off. In the end, what allowed me to get through the mission was Loki. Loki got me through because I could use Radial Disarm, and now the enemies couldn't just snipe the console. 2, 3, 4. How much can I get? Okay, not terrible, not terrible. 70k Merlina. It's not as much as I was hoping to get there, but 70k Merlina. That's a little bit of an increase over the base value of like... Oh, I don't actually remember, like 9k with his strength? No, more than that. Base of 14k. That's an improvement. Loki won't save this for survival, but I'm on about bubble defense. So he's having to protect the consoles, not myself. And the consoles don't go invisible. There we go. Yeah, the mobile defense, Radial Disarm, that was the solution to deal with T4 Void. Just a thing. Can Avara make them Invisivaro? Mobile defense consoles? No. Now, if you had a defense operative, that might be different. And I will be honest, I don't know the answer on that one. Where you're getting 2 times Hollow Key from Exterminate on Veiled Proxima when it should be 10 times? Sounds like a bug. Might want to report that one. It shouldn't be 2 times on Veiled Proxima, that's for certain. Hi, Misery! Where you at? There you are. Ow, okay, you got me with that one. But in the end, I got in. There's my Seal Essence. It's this guy! What's his name? You know, Thor, Core, something. I'm sure he'll let me know. Vico? No. No, it's not Vico. That's that Corpus guy. It's Clem. That's what it is. Yeah, he's Grineer, so it's Clem. I'm glad he's not blaming me for anything. That's pretty nice. Oh, I didn't pay attention. There we go. And he's dead. I feel like the damage has increased all of a sudden. I'm not entirely sure how or why. But the damage does seem to have gone up a little bit out of nowhere. So I'll start using my control aspects. Yep. Those aspects are working. 1, 2, 3. Oh, he died. Damn it! I was going to use that to get a Super Marolina again. Ah well. 4 scales of enemy level? Yeah, but not usefully. Sorry, not enemy level, only scales with enemy count. If you're on about Yareli's 4, that is. Does D still remember Yanoski as a thing? Asti. Alright. Waguchi! There we go.
What you have learned here will serve you well.
That's enough to satisfy my curiosity. Build working as intended and has as expected. Some weaknesses if you look away from the game. What subsume would I recommend for Yareli, if any? Good question, honestly. You can, if you're in more difficult circumstances, you want to hit point tank further, you could go for another damage reduction if you really want to. Just had a drink, but sure, Ragnak, cheers. So, a damage reduction one. Hell, you could have the option of flicking between damage reduction and more power output with Eclipse. Wouldn't be a terrible one to go for in a general Yareli setup. She's already got control. She's already got damage reduction in herself. She's already got damage enhancement. Nullstar? Nullstar's an option, but I've never been a big fan of it, I'll be honest. Certainly if you want to keep it up longer, you need more duration, less range. But Yareli doesn't care as much about duration as she does range. So it's a tough trade on that. Gloom? I don't know how the energy economy will be on that if you're on a Merlina build. I'm not sure on that. Yeah. You slap Raw on a 3? I mean, Raw is the obvious and simple answer. And yes, Raw is also a good answer. It does disappoint me at times that of our many options, it's not actually many options. If you're doing a Merlina setup, then unless it's a set and forget ability, you can already forget about it. Because you can't cast subsumed abilities whilst on Merlina, simply maintain their durations if they're already up. Raw is brilliant for so many reasons. So many reasons. It is a universal damage buff, it is a team damage buff, it is a long duration. 30 seconds base duration is actually quite good to work with. Sure, it's got a base value increase of 30%, but that's a 30% in general, and then a further 30% again, multiplicatively, to status effects, and you can scale it with strength, effectively giving you a double strength scaling on your status effect damage. And considering how much more Warframe leans into status damage these days, that's just even better. And it doesn't really come with downsides. The only possible downside is its 75 base drain is somewhat expensive, but again, it's a long duration. It is a long duration. But I say on Memori also let's use Arcane Intensify for bonus strength. I mean, you can do that, but equipping an ability for a bit of tank and also a bit of strength, not great. Also, you can trigger Arcane Intensify off of healing Merlina. So, he already does have an innate augmented option to get there already, rather than subsume. One mod slot that also does a lot of other benefits, a little bit better than changing out your subsume for that. Looking at the other general options, this is a brief ability and it's grouping. She's already got that. Accolades is, well, her own thing. Banish, brief ability and also just not a good one in general. Blood Altar, we don't need the health support and we're not trying to stay in certain areas. Breach Surge, despite the fact that it's very powerful, in this case it's not a really great one because we already have control, we already have damage multiplication on our one, and you can't cast it whilst on Merlina. There. Check Airburst Augment. Okay. Each enemy hit increases secondary damage. Sure. I see that. Counterpoint, we already have damage enhancement coming out of the one, and further damage from Raw is just simpler. It's just simpler. So, as much as that is an option, and you're very right to point that out, it's not a good enough option. It's just not a good enough option, I'll be honest with you. Trinket Pillar, we don't need to be setting up those zones, not of interest to us. Also, as the thing broke there. Coil Horizon, absolutely no good to us. Condemn, absolutely no good to us. Dark Verse, absolutely no good to us. Decoy, no good. Defy, we don't want the armor. Desiccation, we just don't need it. Dispensary, we don't need to sustain there. Eclipse, already said, it's a decent option to pick. Elemental Ward, it's got so many options and none of them seem to be relevant. Like, hey, we can have a bit of extra health, but we don't need it. We can have extra shield capacity, cute, but we don't really need it. We can have reload speed, holster speed and damage, an option, but not really one I'm singing about. And then armor, we don't need the armor. Empower, extra strength, we're not wasting a subsume on that. Energized munitions. Yareli has access to Arcane Pistolier, so this is basically pointless. Ensnare, we have a grouping ability, so we're not going to spend a subsume to get a grouping ability on a grouping ability frame. Evade, if you want to go for Invis Tank, sure. This one's a pretty recent one, and stands out uniquely for having that simple Invis, so sure. Expedite Suffering, don't need it. Fire Blast, can't cast it on Merlina, and you don't need it. Firewalker, you don't need it. Fractured Blast, can't cast it on Merlina, and also just generally it doesn't provide anything useful. Gloom, I'm honestly not sure it's necessary. I know Zom called out earlier, but I really just don't see that it's necessary. So again, not really gonna need it. Golden Instinct, something separate. Hideous Resistance, don't need it. Ice Wave, don't need it. Not useful to us. Infested Mobility, don't need it. Lava, we have grouping. Lull, we don't need Sleepy, we have grouping. Like of Sun, we don't need the orbs, and so on and so forth, quite frankly. The vast majority of these things just don't provide something valuable, or whatever value they could provide is only if you can repeatedly cast them, and that would require us to be off of Merlina. Bloom Sets and Forgets, I'm aware, but it doesn't provide a huge value. Optimize? Honestly, no. I genuinely dislike Optimize as a overall ability for Subsume, because... there it is. Because it just doesn't provide enough effect quickly enough. I'm not staring down enemies for seconds at a time to hopefully maybe get to the point of dealing with them. They're just dead. We just kill them. Spending the Subsume on that just doesn't show any real value to me. Would Pillage work? You can't set and forget that one, so that would be an off Merlina only. You can't cast on Merlina. When you consider the litany of options out there, they broadly just do not do a job that is of significance to us. It comes down to the usual bits and pieces, which is Nourish, Roar, Eclipse, Dispensary if you need the Sustain. Gloom stands out, I suppose, because it is just an indefinite ability. And then you start to really run out of the options. Silence as well, yeah. If you want to just shut down abilities from Acolytes and the like. And Zarta's Whisper. The only other one of note is Raffle Advance, but that's not a Yareli thing. That goes somewhere else. The rest of them are usually very niche. Usually very niche. Gloom was really popular when Yareli first came out. Gloom was very popular for a while when it first became available, but yeah, not really that great. What was the general consensus? The consensus for myself, the Valkyr update is looking good and was great to play with. There were still some changes and updates that needed to be made to it, but you've already made notable changes since the dev workshop, which are great changes. Now, as for general consensus, if you're thinking, like, what are other people's opinions? Let's not do that. Quite frankly. Let's go with the opinion of the person who got to play with it. Selfishly, but also, you know, come on. Weirdly, Gloom just kind of fell off and how popular it was without any changes. It's more that people realize that it's not actually that impressive. It's a pretty sizable energy drain to either expand out... Yeah, sizable energy drain if you expand it out to act as a slowing field, but you don't usually need to be slowing enemies quite so drastically. Or you can not expand the range and then just have a small lifesteal effect. A small range lifesteal zone, which isn't really that great either. Nitpick, yeah, again, nitpick, I've just given you the general consensus, but changes to health tanking aspects, nothing that'll address people that go invincibility, which, to be quite honest, was the biggest part of people complaining. I put people in inverted commas because anyone can use the word people to refer to any number of opinions and try to act like those opinions are more substantial than an individual parroting them. Watch out for this, because people will do it. You see what I do there? People will do it frequently. Watch out for it. If someone says, people say this, people think that, well, people, where are those people? They can speak for themselves. They have their own voices. Watch out for it. It's common in political discourse, in particular, where an individual might go, oh, well, people are concerned about... Okay, yeah, which people? Go on. Bring out the names, bring out the petition. Where are these people? Are they in the room with us right now? Or are you one person referring to a story you heard from Barry down the pub? You gotta watch out for that. I suppose I brought up politics first, yeah. Barrington, people are eating the dogs, yeah. Was there ever a more prescient example of someone using people to make their point seem more correct? Watch out for the word people when it's used to try and prove a point. It does not prove a point. Ellie, don't worry. I only touched on the topic of politics exists. I didn't go into a specific one. It's fine. In terms of this, honestly, I don't think it really requires any further changes. It exists as is, and the subsume slot is open to do with as one wishes. That's more of a preference slash where are you taking her kind of deal. This is the base form, and as the base form, it works. Okay, our builds are different, but we have nearly the same stats. That does happen from time to time, yeah. I've gone for the focus on the full efficiency and then just kind of build the rest around it. And it works. It just works. Now, I could maybe squeeze a little bit more strength out by replacing that with Intensify. Hell, if I formed the fuck out of it, I could go for Rumble Intensify, bring it up by 20%. But it just doesn't seem worth it. I'll be quite honest with you. 5 more strength, 5 less efficiency, and a bit more shields. Fair enough. I mean, I can Archon Shard this to get basically that strength and shields if I really needed to. But it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The reason energized munitions is a cooldown? Nope, don't see a cooldown. I don't see a cooldown on that. Yeah. Let's mess with losing Scoop for a moment. Can I suggest some immortal or very tanky frames? Some of the biggest health tanks out there are ridiculously resilient if you set them up appropriately. In terms of immortality, there are also various options you can play with there. It depends on the type of immortality you wish to work with. Technically, you can make basically any frame immortal if you are willing to sell your soul to the cult of shield gating. That option exists. But Lavos is a very fun and resilient frame. Just understand that that resilience is not immortal. How many cults from this stream? Everything becomes a cult. When people treat something religiously, it's a different reference of people, but when it becomes a seemingly religious belief, then it becomes a cult. You there, get captured.
Mission complete. The captain has been escorted to the extraction point.
So this is Loot and Scoot. Haven't even used Golden Instinct. Area's barren. Okay. Nope, need to leave this way. Nix doesn't need anything, press 4. I mean, if you want to do more with her, you kind of need to put the augment on, but otherwise, yes. Which is itself now an indication of level agnostic immortality and raises further questions about balance, but we've been over that. Or at least I've been over it. It's enough that I don't want to go over it further. Let's grab you. Yoink. That was a big bullet jump, more than I intended to do, but it's fine. I think the enemies have given up. Oh wait, no, here they are. They were camping the exit. Understandable, honestly.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
Well, that was a pretty quick way of getting 6 Argon Crystals. Anyone struggling for them? I've got 3 Argon Crystals just ready to use. I mean, I'll have to think about it, but I have a good idea what I want to use my 1 Argon Crystal for. Anyway, what's an Argon Crystal? Still one of the odder mechanics in this game. Oh, sorry, I have 5 Argon Crystals. Or maybe 8. I'm not sure how that number's counting, actually. I wanna get at least 1 hit with the Golden Instinct. I've started now. I've got to find one.
You are here to find
Area Baron. All right. I'm gonna cycle the mission till I get a hit. Gonna do it. Should only take anywhere between 1 and 20 missions. It'll be fine. Argons have their own individual timer? Do they?
You are here to find
I don't recall them having an individual timer earlier. My understanding was that they have a half-life. Oh, that bloomin' Neo Fisher is in the way. Stopping me from just instant going straight into restart mission. So I just have daily reset? That's what I figured as well, yeah. Because it did say about 3 hours from now, and that's about daily reset, right? Area Baron. Yeah, doing this solo, not recommended. With 3 other friends, hard scouting the missions, much better. But I'm not doing that right now. I am being silly. Because I think it's like a 1 in 7, I think I measured, of things spawning. No. There's a few different things that spawn, but it's not 1 in 7. It's maybe like 1 in 12. Somewhere in that ballpark. But that means if you've got a group of people, then it's only going to take about 2 missions before someone will typically hit something. I don't know, Daitai, that sounds like a waste to me. Was it 1 in 7? Alright, fair enough. Well, if it's 1 in 7, then yeah, if you all load in a mission twice, there's a good chance one of the 4 players has found something and can invite everyone else. Nothing in this one, though. There it is. Best way to not waste Argons, use them for bile. Not a bad shout. Just chuck them all in there. Hey, we got a hit. Alright then, let's do this.
You must find, capture, and extract our target.
Gonna sprint my way through here, don't mind me. Hi there. Lapped. I'll do another scan at the doorway.
The captive is
So is it
safely
towards
in our
extraction or away from it?
Congratulations, Tenno.
Not the best energy color for this, but... What the fuck was that? It went to the door, went across, and then wavered back and just hit through here. That's... yeah. Alright. I know what it means, but that isn't helpful. Let's do a recheck here. Backwards. Which way? That was weird. Okay, back this way. And if it's back this way, I could probably get away with doing this now. I hope I'm correct on that. Yes! Oh, it's right there. How convenient. Area barren, so that's all there was to find. Lovely. Oh, I got a headshot.
Stay focused. There's a heavy
Fun fact, Riptide can headshot. And that headshot can trigger Arcane Acceleration.
Great work. I am pleased with your performance.
Ta-da! 2 minutes, not counting the loading times. 1 iron sculpture. Alright, let's grab that sculpture. Let's socket these ones up real quick. Oh, it's so much nicer to be able to just press Y and they go straight in. D-Y, why is that limited to goddamn MR10? Dan is in shambles thinking about that. Alright then. And decorate. Let's go pop these ones down. You. You. Not going to focus too much on the placement of them. There we are. Nearly filled up the room. It's getting there. Is there a gap? Oh, I think that's the drone spot. I'm surprised for dissolving them all again. The original redemption was... it was done by Quintus at 50,000 bits, so yeah. Quintus has set the forever cost on that one, 50,000 bits. If you want to be the next person to reset my entire Iron Sculpture collection, melt it down the entire thing, 50,000 bits. Because it is not a small job. I don't know, Odin sees that room? Who's Odin? 50,000 bits like $500? $500 to the creator, yes, Flo. $500 to the creator. Which means that you buying it is going to be more again. I understand exactly how absurd that sounds. Quintus has set the price. So yeah. Quintus has set the price. Yeah, the looted scoot works. Alright. So what if I were to take this to exactly the one place it shouldn't go? Let's grab... Probably not the right weapon for it. I don't know. Let's go with Lex. Lex is a functional weapon. Let's go with Lex. There it is. Actually, I mean, you can offer me an incursion. I'll take the incursion. Yeah, so originally the Dissolve All was a 500,000 channel point redemption, and Quintus recognized that other channel point redemptions were being redeemed for 1/10 their cost but in bits, and suggested doing that. I was like, I mean, it'd be 50,000 bits, but you can if you want to. And then a few weeks later he did. Yeah. Have those counted to sniper related bonuses before? Yes. And also, amps used to be considered bows.
With an atropos probe that you may pierce the
It's just a thing.
There, a vitriol. Administer the atropos serum and defend the boggling eye as it searches.
I'm a boggling. I'm looking after the boggling eye, and apparently I'm boggling with it, because that's what I said. We're all boggled. We are very boggled. There we go. Get the kills. Another wave out. This is so much easier than doing it on Dan. Just saying. So much easier. Ta-da!
Good, but not enough.
Not enough? Alright, we'll do more.
Serum and stimulate
We'll do
another
more.
vitriol.
Tice resupply does not get the 2x buff on bows. Interesting. Can't say I thought to try those together, but now we know.
Acquire a fresh
Grab this
probe.
one and slap it in the second spot.
Observe. The murmur places a hand over its eye.
Maybe, Ellie. I'll think about it.
Flutters away. Naughty hand.
Thank you. Oh, there's a thing being summoned. Oh no, whatever shall I do? Get blapped, nerd. All of you get blapped. And then we continue the onslaught. Am I getting stacks on this? Oh yeah, it's headshot stacks on this one. Can I... Where's the... There we go. Found something headshotable. This area exhausted. Gotta go to the next one. Where's my atropos? It's up here. Off to the next spot. Switch to Valkyrie is boring? Thanks for the suggestion. Let's pop this in over here. I would spend more time going over Valkyr, but I'll be quite honest, that conversation has rapidly exhausted my care for other people's opinions on the matter. Given the number of absolutely ludicrous and downright insulting takes, I'll be honest. There you are. Oh yeah, Picker Frame's been gone for a long while, Flo. That's old guard. A VOD refers to video on demand, and in the context of a live stream, it means that you can go back to see the live stream after the fact. Obviously you won't be able to interact, because it's no longer live. Time travel has not yet been put together, and I hope it never is. But you can still at least see what the hell happened. Let's grab the eye that's all the way over here. Vitrum exhausted. Let's go summon the tide. Huzzah!
We have a lock.
You know what, Ellie? Actually, I'd forgotten, but you're correct. Yes. I did remove Pick a Frame because it was always Yareli.
Time now.
There we go. I've just gained myself a little bit of energy income.
Defeat the tide to face the one.
Any of you headshotable? Ah, you are. Thank goodness for that. So stream on YouTube as well as Twitch in the meantime, and we can go back. I don't have to ask for Valkyr gameplay. So you can already go back. You can. It means you can't, watch this stream at the same time. At least not easily. But then why would you want to? You can go back if you click my profile icon, and then go to videos. It is there. Not as convenient, absolutely. YouTube, however, has other fundamental failings which make it a worse place for me to stream. And if I stream to both at once, I've seen other streamers doing it, and I'll be quite honest. Whenever a streamer starts talking to someone who is in a different chat, it actually just feels really weird and disconnected. So that is also a big reason why I'm not streaming on both. It just ends up making a weirdly disconnected experience. I try to mitigate that just in Twitch itself here by calling out what someone's saying when I respond to it. At least if it's important enough to call it out, but yeah. Oh, that hurt. I need a recharge. There's nothing I can recharge on. Come on. Any of you rechargeables? There we are. Looks like Yareli can handle this. Yep, looks like Yareli can handle this.
As it was written, so has it come to pass. The awaited operator has slain the many armed.
Now granted, I did use Lex Prime Incarnate there.
Vashtav.
But why wouldn't you use the good stuff you have? Yeah, Ellie, yeah. It is possible to have stream chats from multiple sources rendered on stream. However, it has drawbacks, not least of which I can't, remove it from the stream once it's happened. So yeah. But yeah, that was practically easy mode. And that was Steel Path. I know that Steel Path was doable with a Star Chart build and a Nataruk. But even still, that was easy.
I wouldn't want Lloyd to struggle, so here I am. Lloyd has
So what if I activated all of these and went through? Ooh, got an assassination there as well.
and there will be
Same loadout.
heads high and hearts full of
Same loadout, let's do it. How bad could it be? I haven't even looked at the modifiers properly. I think I know what they are, but we'll find out if I remember correctly.
Master Entrati's experiments have gone a tad awry. Significant off-gassing of elements harmful to
Is this smart? Probably not.
Please accept life support as I attempt to rectify remote.
Let's do this. Put that down there to kind of cover my back a little bit. Oh, you are resilient. Trying to aim for the weak spots. Hard to do as it turns around. These will have to do. Group up the stuff I don't want to deal with. There we go. Ready. Merylina's getting a little low. Recast a new one just so I don't miss that. Come on. That'll do. Leg's not the best against Necromex? Yeah, it still killed it. I don't have any particular complaints there. Ooh. That was a Xmas dog sprinting at me. Still perished. Can I change form? Thank you. Let's head over to the life support capsules. Let's probably start charging them. Ray, for you, very quick TLDR. She's had further buffs since the dev workshop. I got to playtest them. And I was able to showcase the footage today. It's been released. The footage including doing EDA, Steel Path Disruption here in the labs, doing a Legasite Harvest Steel Path with her, doing a Grineer Survival, Corpus Survival, and Infested Defense, and in every single one of those missions, she did not struggle. She was effective, she was fun to play, and DA is still taking further feedback. Biggest weakness on her is definitely paralysis, though. Definitely paralysis is the biggest weakness on her. But that's fine, there's a subsume slot. Well, it's not fine, no. I did still give feedback on that, but it's a subsume slot for now. I gave a variety of ways that I would do paralysis differently, but it depends on what Dee's vision is and what other feedback they're receiving. It could be that I'm missing some very obvious and powerful tech with paralysis. I acknowledge that. And to be very, very clear, it was voluntary playtest from an invitation, not sponsored. But apparently if you say nice things about a company, you must be sponsored. Oops, did not pay attention. This is EDA. This is a bad place to not pay attention. I just realised how much of a goof I've just made there. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. That's about to run out. I've damaged them, but not enough. Nope, bollocks. I fucked that up. I wasn't paying attention, that's on me. So it turns out if Mirrorina dies, you lose your 90% damage reduction. You know who doesn't lose all of the damage reduction the moment you look away from one small ticker? Valkyr. Yeah. Oh well, my bad. My bad on that. It was fine until I stopped paying attention. You have a paralysis focus build where you overwrite Hysteria? It tends to just not play nicely with each other? I mean, I see on that side of things. A paralysis focus build overwriting Hysteria? That is certainly a choice. How will that handle having 10 times the energy cost? Dev's gonna say, in my opinion, they should do those test servers more often for creators at least. It's not the first time I've had the opportunity to engage with the test server. It is, however, an extremely limited thing, and I understand various reasons behind that, not least of which there are some logistical issues on being able to connect to the test server. But also, there is the simple risk of leaks and reveals. So I have seen things that I cannot say a peep about. I am under NDA. And I'm perfectly fine with that. But from Dee's perspective, I can understand if they want to kind of keep that under wraps as much as possible. And so the fact they extended that invitation to me is, well, very generous and very welcome. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, saying just watch the Valkyr part. Thanks for heads up, but you should have died in order to test it, to be honest. Still better than Pablo's own test. Sorry, Linkind. When you're saying I should have died, what do you think I failed to do? Because I didn't show all the testing and all the footage I have. And some of the testing I didn't record, or it was not suitable recording. So, what do you think I didn't appropriately cover? Because I don't understand what you're having to go out there. Heroic Vanguard said, run Nourish, it should be fine. Use All to pull in, stack Crescendo, shred with Nami Solo Incarnon, Reaper for survivability. Yeah, fair enough. I can see the value in that. You will be missing out on the new armor bonus that comes with a Hysteria combo, but it's fine. I can see, though, that, yeah, Hysteria turning off your ability to use Nami Solo, not so great. Like I say, Deathgate, we still don't know if it's a Nidus-like zoom blocking your view. It isn't, Linkine. In fact, one of my bits of feedback was that the passive, when it triggers, was so unnoticeable that I nearly didn't notice it happened, and probably didn't notice it happen a couple times when using a much weaker build to test the limits of that. So I did explore that, and my feedback was it was too silent. Could be something that's a work in progress, so I acknowledge that, and that's why that feedback is just kind of by the by there. But yeah. How is the passive rebuild after the death save? Surprisingly quick in a high density scenario. I imagine it would be risky if you're in a very low or one enemy density scenario. So relying on it if you are in a position of not being able to get those melee hits and kills in particular can definitely put you into a problem. Yeah, I don't want a Nidus style FFE. The passive I referenced was Wukong's. Now, Wukong does also mess up your FFV a bit, I believe, but the big thing is it kind of pops up and shows, this just triggered. It's got a sound, this just triggered. It lets you know, yo, you just use your immortality. Bro. As opposed to, oops, it's gone. And even that is more than I got. But yeah. Is it also still 3 second? I believe it was, but I'm doing it off the top of my head. Again, just to make sure that I don't like oversell any particular details. I'm not bringing up the specific information you gave me because I want to be clear. It's all still in playtest. Well, pre-release, not playtest, pre-release. So it's still subject to change. But yeah. I do intend to be covering this in a video as well. In fact, you know what? This is a perfect time to do a poll. This is a perfect time to do a poll because we're about to do two things. One, we're getting close to doing a platinum giveaway. And two, I want you guys' opinions. So, whilst the chat fills with tickets, let me put up this poll. Which would you want first? Fully updated Yareli guide. And now we have 4 build guide. Or, Valkyr pre-release video. Let's give a couple minutes on that vote there. On that poll. Poll is now live. Which would you want first? A fully updated Yareli guide, or would you want a Valkyr pre-release video? Again, it's subject to change, so all that information will go out of date. Not might, will go out of date. And it won't allow you to play Valkyr sooner, not the updated Valkyr anyway, because all of that will just be coming out when it comes out. What you want personally, Ellie, because what you want personally is what makes a good video. So which would you prefer to see first? Also saying which I think it means should be documented sooner. Oh, that must be to another message. Nope, it wasn't. Okay. I don't follow then, sorry. Keep in mind, gotta handle the comments if Twitch chat was rough. Zom, I'll be functionally ignoring the comments. I know that my ability to manage my emotions live on stream is not ideal, and it is something that haunts me every single day. I will be quite honest. However, when it comes to YouTube comments, I can swear to the moon, and then no one ever hears it. Except for my housemate. He laughs. Linkine, you're welcome to believe that. I disagree. So, yeah. Simple on that. I'm seeing a 2 to 3 split on the vote here. Interesting. Roughly 2 to 3 split on the vote in favour of the Valkyr pre-release. Okay. Housemate co-stream when? They explicitly refuse to be part of the streams. So yeah. That works for me, quite honestly. That works for me. Yeah, housemate doesn't want to be involved. I know, Zom. Zom, right back at you. What Discords do you still interact with? I appreciate your concerns, Zom, but I've seen where you wallow. I've seen who you argue with and how. I appreciate the concern, but Okay, Zom. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Don't mind, Yareli vid would be longer lasting. It would be. Yeah, which is part of why this is an interesting interesting question. But it seems that if chat got to choose, chat would rather have a Valkyr pre-release video. I'll bear that in mind. What the hell did Zom do? I've found a few times before now, Zom complaining about, and it's this word again, for those of you who were here moments ago, you'll remember, Zom complaining about the opinions of people, and on pressing, discovered that those people were those who were discussing rather bullishly in public Warframe discords. Not just individual creator discords, but just generic Warframe discords, plural. Now, if you argue with someone who can only find that as their platform to raise a flag on, this is a generalization and does not apply fully. But if someone has to go so far as to only be able to raise their flag on a public game Discord to start making noise about things, you have to wonder the kind of person they are. That they're not content to share it with friends, that they haven't got a more particular community to share it with. They have to go to the most generic and low tier of platforms to stomp their feet on. Dare I say, the least moderated of locations to make noise. So, when you're that far down, yeah. Oh, I won't disable the comments, no, Linkine. Disabling the comments just makes it where people feel like I have lost, if nothing else. Whereas, leaving the comments up, especially on, for example, the temple video, leaving the comments up on the temple video was a godsend. Because this very small minority that wanted to out themselves as nothing but a complete problem, I could shadow ban. Yeah, I do shadow ban. If someone's going to come out with some of the toxicity in those particular comments, and you know exactly the kind I'm referring to, yeah. Bye-bye. Go be a problem somewhere else. Be solved. Shadowban? Yeah. Shadowban is you can post comments, but only you can see them. That's a shadowban. Do people just have that frame then? Death's Color. It's a different type of problem than that. Yeah. It's a different type of problem. Hydrate? I think I'm actually... Ah, shoot. Yeah, sorry, but I'm completely out. So you know what? I will promise that I'll get that off stream as soon as we do the plaque giveaway. As soon as we do the plaque giveaway. Anyway, let's see here. Ellie, you okay there? I think you just hit something you shouldn't have hit. I think you did just click something you shouldn't have. Oh, no. DM me on that one, Ellie, just so I understand. Anyway, let's do a giveaway. Let's do a giveaway. Just in case anyone hasn't grabbed a ticket yet, exclamation mark ticket in the chat for a chance to win that. I'm giving out 75 platinum to someone on any console or platform. So it doesn't matter if you're on PC, Xbox, Switch, PlayStation, or mobile. There we are. I didn't forget mobile. Totes. I knew there were 5 of them. Exclamation mark ticket for a chance to win it. I'll give you just one last moment to grab those tickets there. This platinum is, of course, courtesy of DE, because they sanction plat giveaways. Yeah. Flo, that's something best covered elsewhere. Because, you know, that's going to just start a conversation most people here don't want to have. Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tickets closed. If you haven't grabbed a ticket now, you've had more than 3 hours to grab one. So let's see then. Out of those who entered today, the winner is going to be Henshin Yo. Henshin Yo, congratulations. You are the winner today of the Platinum giveaway. I'll be contacting you shortly after the end of the stream to get a hold of your Warframe username, your platform, and if you got a cross-save turned on or not. GG's on that. That Platinum will be coming your way, so long as you respond within 24 hours, of course. Gotta make sure I can actually get that processed in a reasonable amount of time. As for everyone and everything else, that is unfortunately all that we have got time for today. We all need to rest at some point. I am no different on that. I am still a fallible human after all, who... yeah. That doesn't need any further explanation. So let's see, who can we raid on into today? Who can we raid on into today? Let's see. We've gone to Gaz a few times recently. Zenos Fire is live. There we go. That's a raid we can definitely make. That is a raid we can make. Subsume Nourish onto Kenjinir. Oh no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Because, sure, that may give me more energy, but it means that anytime someone lashes out at me in the slightest, I'm just going to apply viral to everyone, and that's just terrible. Yeah. I don't need to be spreading viruses through the internet. I think that's considered to be illegal. So, you know what? Let's just raid on out of here. Let's just raid on over to Zenos Fire, who appears to be in something of a level cap circuit at the moment. That could be interesting. Well, we're going to head on over there now. Thank you everyone for joining in, and I'll see you on the next one on Friday. Bye-bye.